Now everybody close your eyes and concentrate. Concentrate hard. It worked.
It's here. The ice cream you've all been waiting for.
Hey, wait for me! Gee, I love being a turtle!
And you'll love Tip Top's new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ice cream.
Awesome! Bodacious! Cowabunga!
We now present Turtlecast, a six-part podcast delving into the history of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Mike, Billy, Raphael, and Donatello here. How you guys doing? Listen, your dudes, Brandon and Jimmy. Mike, Billy, Brandon, and Jimmy. Sounds like a new pop group. Tells me you guys are turtle freaks. Me too. I mean, they've sort of paid for my kids' braces and toilet paper and dog food and gas. I love the turtles. They tell me that you guys are starting your own turtle podcast. What a great idea. It's not like you won't have an audience. I have to tell you guys, I go to a lot of cons around the world, literally Dubai, Ireland, Wales, UK, the continent, whatever, Australia, Canada, United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama. I travel all around the world. God, I have never in my life, and I've been around a long time. Turtles do live forever, as it turns out, or almost. I've never in my whole life seen anything like this franchise, ever. As you guys probably know, I started working on that stuff in 1987. I'm almost 40 years old. Canadian, which is 67 US. Remarkable. The average age of the people who come to see me at conventions, probably 40, 45. They always bring their kids. And now it's like 3 generations. I get people my age and older with their adult children, 40-ish, and then they bring their grandkids, and they all love Ninja Turtles. Men, women, it's incredible. Non-binary, you name it. There is something really, it's kind of like McDonald's. I mean, kids just, one day they kind of are cognizant of this thing called Ninja Turtles, and they want it. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but man, it is such a cool thing to be involved with this franchise. Thank you guys for pouring even more gas on this beautiful TMNT fire, because it ain't going out anytime soon. You've hitched your wagon to a really cool green TMNT star, and thanks. Welcome to the family. We got 4 new turtles wherever you guys live. So, Mikey, Billy, Brandon, Jimmy, 4 new authentic official TMNTs. Cowabunga, Booyakasha, Turtle Power. Go have yourself a hot fudge marshmallow, tuna fish, and Doritos pizza. And if you see Shredder, just say, "Shredder, you tin-faced geek, get back here and taste cold turtle steel." Thanks again, you guys. Best of luck. I can't wait to hear your podcast. Cowabunga.
I'm Brandon.
Hey, it's Jimmy.
I'm Billy.
I'm Mike.
And that was Rob Paulson, guys.
Oh my god, that was so cool.
By the way, everyone is listening to that for the first time right now. We all just got done listening to it. I hadn't even listened to the whole thing. I listened to a good part of it, but Billy is showing us goosebumps right now. That was
literally
really cool of him.
Yeah, that was amazing, because actually last night I was just teaching my son all about him and how he's done voices on all kinds of cartoons that my son watches, and like just watching his face light up every time I mentioned another cartoon he had been on and another character.
I love that we got an Animaniacs cameo in there, by the way. That caught me off guard.
That was great.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that a lot.
And we got a little Raphael and Donnie.
Yeah. Oh, I can tell the difference.
Which is that little, the wisp.
Plus, he said the butt cannons thing.
Yeah,
that's what that's from.
That's what gave it away. Was the butt cannons.
But yeah, I thought y'all would enjoy that.
Oh, that was fantastic. Thank you, Brandon.
The legend.
Thank you for that, Brandon.
So, guys, today we are going to talk the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies. And by the way, Welcome back to the Turtlecast. We're in episode 3 of 6. We're, you could say halfway there, Mike.
Whoa! Like that?
Yeah.
Bon Jovi references?
Bon Jovi reference.
It took us 3 whole episodes to get there.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Me and Mike like it some Bon Jovi. But, yeah, before we start getting into the movies, I gave the guys a little bit of homework, and I did some myself. And I'm going to go ahead and read that homework to you as well, and we're going to discuss it. So, I said, gentlemen, you have been handed the rights to produce your own live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie. The script is stellar, your budget is unlimited, everyone wants to be a part of it. And on top of that, I'm also supplying you with a time scepter if you need it. Here's the deal. I need you to make some big decisions. First off, who is directing your TMNT movie? Are your turtles going to be CGI or people in suits like in the 90's? Or maybe you want to use some puppets? It's your call. Let me know what you decide. Most importantly, I need you to cast the following roles with truly anyone. They can be actors, voice actors, athletes, celebrities, people you know from the bar or something. It doesn't matter. Or you can use the time machine and you can take a existing actor right now and pluck them out of a different era from if they've been like working for a while. Like for a little bit, I was going to cast Sylvester Stallone as Bebop. I didn't, but if I was, it was going to be Bebop from the 1980s, circa like Rocky 3.
Perfect voice for it, by the way.
So yeah. I went with somebody else, and I'll tell you why. I actually think Stallone's a stronger casting, but my Bebop makes sense with my Rocksteady.
That's fair.
So I am going to go around the table and I'm going to ask everybody questions about who you casted, who's directing, and all that, and we're going to just go one by one here. I'm going to first ask the whole table, who is the director of your turtle movie? And I'm going to start with Mike Waters.
So real quick, only prefacing this much because there's a few choices in my cast where you'll see the remnants of. Originally, I wanted live action, people in suits, but with CG to, cover up creases and make everything look perfect. Originally, I went with Guy Ritchie.
Okay.
I wanted, hardcore British gangster version.
Let's say that would be dark.
Right. But
you like using some fun turtles.
Well, this is why I think my actual choice, he splits the difference perfectly, and that is Guillermo del Toro.
Okay,
that's
a great one.
Somebody who could handle the mutants and whatnot perfectly.
That's strong,
right? And
that bar's up here,
right? And so I just think he's a. If you look at
awesome.
the tone of the Hellboy films is a perfect example of what I want out of a Ninja Turtles movie, because there's a lot of fun, there's a lot of comedy, but there's also really good story and plenty of violence.
So I'm guessing you're going to do suits as well?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and add that to your director. Are we going to do suits? We're going to do CGI, puppets, whatever you want. So you want to do suits?
Still, like I said, live action with the suits and just a little bit of CG to make shit look a little bit prettier than we had in the 90s.
Okay, that would be visually stunning, if you ask me. Jimmy, who would be your director, and what kind of, how would your mutants be? Would they be CGI, animatronic? What have you?
I agree with Mike. I would go live action 100%. Men in suits with some CG enhancements. And I think I picked Matthew Vaughn, who did the Kingsman films.
That's a good one, too.
Yeah,
this is why I like doing this.
Very nice.
Stuff I hadn't thought.
Physical, but a lot of pop. It pops. It whizzes and pops, and the dialogue flies, and it is very clever. Runner-up, Edgar Wright is also a guy that deals with pop culture really well, but I think we want Matthew Vaughn because really a turtle movie is an action movie with wisecracks. So I say let's go with Matthew Vaughn. Also did X-Men First Class as well. I think he would be good for the job.
Fun fact, Jimmy had my copy of Kingsman for 5 years.
I did, and I loved it. Loved it.
Billy, who's your director, and what kind of mutants are you going to have?
I'm going to have costumes.
Costume.
Awesome. A little bit of puppetry, not a whole lot.
Okay.
Just a little bit of puppetry, but mostly costumes. And the director I picked, I don't know if any of you all are familiar with this director, Newt Arnold.
No.
I'm not familiar. Tell me what's his resume.
Give us a filmography here.
You ever seen the movie Bloodsport?
Oh!
Yeah, okay.
That is Newt Arnold.
Okay. I'm totally good with that. That's
Derek
awesome.
Sturgeon is so mad at the three of us.
He's somewhere.
So mad that we don't know
Cursing the gods right now.
Right?
Newt, is that N-E-W-T?
Yes.
That feels funny, too.
It
That a guy named Newt is doing the turtle film?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Like that.
Yes.
All right, I am also going with live action suits with maybe some CGI enhancements to it. And my director, I feel like mine is the most basic of everyone. So everyone's really like good. Mine is James Gunn because I just feel like he does great. He does a cast of misfits really good, as you see from the Guardians trilogy as well as the Suicide Squad movie that he did. Also, the man knows a good soundtrack, and I feel like Turtles, you need a good soundtrack. Yes. So I picked James Gunn for mine. So now we're going to get into the casting of it all. I'm going to go around. We're going to do one character at a time. So this time I'm going to start with Billy. Who would you cast as Raphael?
Mike.
As in me?
Yes, as in me.
Mike Waters?
Yes, Mike Waters.
I said we can cast people we know.
That is correct. Mike Waters is my
I'm good with that.
Am I the one in the suit, or is it my voice?
You're the one in the suit.
Oh, okay. That makes way more sense.
But you're also the voice.
I can't wait to see this movie.
Yeah. The only thing you're not is any kind
Raphael with muffin top.
The only thing you're not is anything with
we'll use the Sheltman.
Any kind of martial arting or whatnot. That'd be stunt doubles type thing.
That's even better.
Can I be the only turtle without a stunt double? Actually, so all my shit just looks like trash.
This is a high pitched movie, sir. I don't know if that's gonna fly.
Okay.
Newt casted a good person there. Jimmy, who do you have for your Raphael?
It's live action. I can't picture anyone different than my four guys from 1990. So I'm sticking with the voices from 1990. That was Michael Insisti, Corey Feldman, Brian Tochi.
Oh, you're doing all of this?
Yes, I would pick the four guys. I can't remember their special names. But it's my four guys from the 1990 film.
Okay.
Because they're the turtles to me.
That's totally fair, I think. Mike, who do you have for Raphael?
All right, so I'm going big, huge blockbuster with pretty much all my casting decisions.
A lot of mine are too.
My Raphael is Tom Hardy.
Okay, I like
that.
that.
He could hit the tone of Raphael really well.
And he can come up with a funny voice to it.
Right.
Yeah. Can we hear your Bane really quick, by the way, Mike?
Why would you want to hear my Bane voice?
Mike has a really good Bane.
The goddamn pasta maker!
I thought we should share that with the world. For Raphael, for me, I'm going back in time to like the early 90s, late 80s, whenever Goodfellas came out, and I am casting Ray Liotta from that time. I feel like he's very emotional, he's very intense, and he also has kind of that New York accent
the voice
that
would be perfect.
We came to love from the 90s Turtles. So next we're going to go with Michelangelo. We already know who Jimmy picked for Michelangelo. So, Mike, tell me who you picked for your Mike.
Chris Pratt.
Okay.
Another one who I think he has the
my director will be mad that you casted him and that he didn't.
But yeah, I think he's got the comedic timing and the chops and whatnot. And yeah, he'd just be perfect for the role. Think Andy Dwyer, but coming out of Michelangelo's body.
Billy, who do you have for Michelangelo?
Me, as a matter of fact.
Okay. I think I see where this is going.
You see this?
By the way, I would watch the shit out of this.
Right. Oh my God.
Shameless self-promotion in Billy's movie.
Oh wow.
It's gonna be like the Roger Corman version of the Turtles.
We could actually
sitting down with a pillow on his back.
By the way, I cannot wait to talk later about who some of the people wanted to cast as the Turtles back in 1990. There's some.
Oh, that's
there's weirder casting than what Billy's doing right now.
I feel like the guy who directed Bloodsport is probably available, so we could probably. So far, we can make this movie that you're putting together. I'm
but not all the way.
It's going to veer.
It's definitely going to veer. Yeah.
My Michelangelo might be a little bit on the nose because of the cartoon coming out in 1987. This is somebody from the 80s as well, but a little bit earlier in the 80s. I'm picking from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Spicoli himself, Sean Penn from the Spicoli area. He's the original party dude. Why not play the party dude that is the turtle?
Respect.
Next up, we got Leonardo, the leader of the pack. Billy, who do you have casted as Leonardo?
Gee, I wonder who's going to play Leonardo here. Brandon.
All right, I like this.
Nice.
I accept that casting. Mike, who would you pick for your Leonardo?
My pick for Leonardo is Christian Bale. I told you, I'm spending all the money on this.
I told you, the budget is
there is no budget.
But he's another one, just tonal-wise, I think he'd be perfect for Leonardo.
And we're going from Batman to my pick, who has been quite a few characters, including Captain America. I'm going with Chris Evans.
Nice.
When I read the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic books today, he's actually the voice that I picture when Leonardo talks. I just like him as kind of a leader type, kind of like Captain America. I know it's a little typecasted, but it works.
And we'll be talking about Chris Evans later, if I'm not mistaken.
And
We will.
Yes, we will. Which that caught me off guard.
Right?
But we will talk about that. Yeah,
We will.
And next up, we got Donatello. I'm guessing you're going to pick Jimmy for that one.
You
Billy?
better pick me. You bastard.
Let me see
Let me
here.
think. Corey Feldman.
Yes, Jimmy Humphrey will be Donatello in this film.
All right, I like that.
I'm on board.
Mike, who do you pick for your Donatello?
So mine's a little bit like Billy's. It's a little close to Jimmy. They're a little bit similar, but I went with Michael B. Jordan.
I thought you were going to say Crispin Glover.
The fact
Michael
that
B. Jordan, wait a minute.
The fact that you didn't
I'm still confused. Crispin, I was like, what's that guy's name? Oh, yeah, Crispin Glover.
Who would
Michael
be?
B. Jordan,
No,
looks just like him.
Crispin Glover probably would be just fine, but yeah, no, I was just trying to get a joke to land. But yeah, Michael B. Jordan would be my Donatello.
For my Donatello, I picked Patton Oswalt. I just feel like he would be great as kind of that tech-smart turtle.
His tone would be good for
that. He's also, like Chris Evans, I actually picture him when I read the books.
Right.
All right, Jimmy, you get to come back for this one. We're going to talk Jenica. Jenica. Is it Jenica?
Yeah, Jenica.
Jimmy, who did you cast as Jenica?
I was looking. I don't know much about Jenica as a character, but I wanted a voice that.
Which is what I liked about putting her on here, by the way.
I wanted a voice that was different from my '90s guys, and I wanted an accent. And I want to get some Pugh in this movie. I want Florence Pugh doing kind of like her Black Widow voice, something like that. For Jenica, doing the voice.
I like that. All right, Billy, who do you have for Jenica?
All right, this is not one of us or anybody you know personally, but just imagine this movie with us being next to this.
No, he's leading up. He's leading up. This is going to be good.
Florence Pugh.
Cynthia Rothrock from 1980. From the 1980s.
I said that. That's good.
We can still make this. We can still make it. We can still make this.
We're just going to travel around to conventions for the next year making our movie happen.
But Cynthia Rothrock from the 80s, though. Not current.
Okay.
Fine.
We can do a CG thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Mike, who do you have for Jenica?
I actually went with Samara Weaving. So, yeah. Right, so
Jimmy, we just talked about Florence Pugh. She's gonna get jealous.
So think like Mayhem, and I believe that was her in The Sitter as well on Netflix.
She's Scream recently.
Yeah. She did opening in the new Scream movie. Actually, she's almost Margot Robbie is another way to kind of describe her.
Yeah, I can.
But I think just because I've seen her do stuff like Mayhem, I like Samara Weaving a little bit better personally.
Okay.
And again, not to keep talking about the movie, but if none of you have seen Mayhem, I highly recommend it. It's so much fun.
It's good.
I picked newcomer Halle Bailey, who is Ariel in the most recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I wanted one of my turtles to not be I picked a bunch of white guys. I'm sorry, I just really like them in the part. But I was just like, I want to kind of change it up for Jenica, and I was just like, she's really great up and coming actress. I think she would blow it away. Yeah. So next up we have Splinter. Which, by the way, is everybody using the Splinter puppets from the original movies on this one?
Yes.
I am.
Yes.
Yes, to a certain point in the movie, and that has to do with the story that I created that I know we're not talking about our stories, but you can't tell me to think about something without expecting me to overthink about something.
I was always thinking either we go with the puppet or we go with Tony Shalhoub, so I'm going to go with the puppet.
I do actually have something to say about my movie whenever we get done.
Okay, look at it.
Just the type.
But first, Splinter. Jimmy, let's go with you again. Who do you have casted as your Splinter?
To balance out my 90s guys, I do my 90s Splinter. There is nothing better than that 1990s Splinter puppet.
Okay.
And, of course, we're going to have Kevin Clash do the voice.
Elmo!
Elmo do the voice.
Elmo!
The voice is perfect.
Yes, it is perfect. I actually almost picked him for mine, but I went with somebody else.
We're going to ignore any kind of controversy as far as casting is concerned and just move on to the next person.
Yes. Billy, who do you have for Splinter?
Okay, this is going to be interesting. Phil Fondacaro.
Explain, please.
You okay, Jimmy?
No.
Phil Fondacaro was, he was in...
Why?
Why not? I mean...
Why not? Okay.
Phil Fondacaro is around the same height as Splinter is.
That's not why I needed you to explain, Billy.
But Phil
Fondacaro
from 1980s from when he's in Troll.
Okay. Okay. That did help a little bit, at least. There's a little bit of context.
Okay. Now. So earlier you said that you read these out to your mom. What did your mom say to some of these? This is insane. I love it. It's insane.
She didn't get to Phil Fonacaro.
She didn't get to Phil Fonacaro?
No,
Okay.
I didn't
Not
tell
many
her
people
that.
did.
She fit right in at this table then.
You said I could choose. Any
Oh yeah,
We
This is
love
your
it.
movie. We
You
love
know
it.
what I want.
I watched the hell out of this thing.
Right? It's already got us in it.
Yeah.
It does.
Mike, who do you have as Splinter?
All right, so part of the reason that I chose who I chose. Oh, also, just to point this out, so with certain characters, I wanted to keep them with Japanese actors,
Yeah.
and then I realized every Japanese actor that I knew was Chinese.
No, yeah.
Literally
that's-
every
yeah,
person
That's
that I
something
looked
that
up,
happens a lot in the movies I looked up. And
I felt like such uncultured swine looking up
Yeah.
so many people. Like, also at the end of my movie, I
we're gonna have a lot
have
of Splinter in
Splinter.
this movie.
I have Splinter turning back into a human,
Okay.
so I need somebody who would be good and striking in that and work
Hamato
well.
Yoshi.
That's
Right.
good. Yeah, I like
Okay,
that.
I'll go with
So-
that. I'll go with that.
To keep connective tissue to previous movies and whatnot, I actually went with Ernie Reyes Jr.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah,
very good.
Okay.
Very good. Very
Hats
good.
off to you. That's a good one.
Thank you. I just, and admittedly, like we were talking about earlier, he still looks really good, so he doesn't look as old as I would need him to be when
Yeah.
he turns back into Hamato Yoshi, but we can put some makeup on him and whatnot, and hopefully he can do a good old man voice.
My Splinter would actually be one that's a guy that's actually played Splinter already, and it's not Elmo. It's Jackie Chan. I always
Oh.
thought Jackie Chan would be a great Splinter, and I would probably cast like a younger Jackie Chan so we could get the Hamato Yoshi of it all. But
So if there's like flashbacks in the
yeah,
movie,
yeah,
definitely
give
for
me
that.
some Rumble the Bronx like era Jackie
yeah.
Chan for that. Next up, this is a big one. April O'Neil. I'm going to start with Mike on this one. Who do you have casted as your April
I
O'Neil?
love that you're starting with me because this is probably my favorite pick of the bunch.
Okay.
Sigourney Weaver.
Oh,
Nice.
okay.
Yes.
That,
Very nice.
So I'm
That
thinking
would
like
work. That works.
Ghostbusters Sigourney Weaver as
That's
April
really
O'Neil.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see her in the jumpsuit.
Okay.
Right?
Billy, who do you have for as April O'Neil?
All right, everybody's been enjoying our movies thus far. E.G. Daily.
Hey!
Very nice.
Yes.
Pee-wee's Big
I
Adventure.
just watched
right?
that last night.
Yes.
Yeah,
That
love
naughty
Pete
rat.
Daily.
Yes.
And also, if I'm not mistaken, Rugrats.
Oh, yeah, she's
Yep.
Chucky.
Yes.
Chucky, ain't she?
She is. Yes. But
Very, very accomplished voice
her,
actor, actually.
her from 1980s, of course.
Nice.
I'm a rebel. I'm a loner. Jimmy, who do you have as your April O'Neil?
Some of you know me really well, and you know I've talked about this over the years. Do you know who my dream April O'Neil has always been?
I honestly do not. I don't think.
I do not.
I've got an idea about
I'm sure I've heard it before, but I don't remember.
Well, it's Howard the Duck era Leah
Oh,
Thompson.
no. Okay.
Good pick.
Whenever
Okay.
when I watched that movie and that Turtles came out, I was like, "That's April O'Neil." And of course, Howard didn't go so well for her, so I could see how she wouldn't want to come back and work with guys in costumes. But to me, that she'll always be a live action April O'Neil in my brain.
Me, I'm going to go back to the year 2007. You know, long ago, the world is very different. To the Enchanted era, Amy Adams for my
Ooh.
April O'Neil.
Okay.
I just
I
feel
like
like
Amy Adams.
I feel like her, especially from that time period, because she's a little bit younger, would be the perfect like spitting image of an April O'Neil, and she's very like, you know, she's very tough too. So I
Right.
think she'd be great. Next up, we have Shredder, the big bad. Billy, who do you have casted as your Shredder?
I have Ken Watanabe.
Oh, that's a
nice.
great one.
That's a very
actually.
good one.
That's a great one. I did not pick. I would have thought of it.
We
Yeah,
should have
that's a
thought
good
of
one.
that too.
It's a good one. Mike, who do you have for your Shredder?
With connecting things a little bit to Billy's movie, actually, straight from Bloodsport, Bolo Young. is my
Okay,
Nice.
okay. I'm okay with that.
Another actor who is not Japanese.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Jimmy, who is your Shredder?
I had a problem with this one because most of the time he'll be in costume.
Yeah.
So a lot of mine really would be unknowns for a while, but I had to pick somebody.
Yeah. good.
So I picked John Cho.
Okay.
Good.
That's a good one too.
Yeah.
Just because when the mask comes off and he's scarred, he's a good-looking guy, and it would be funny he'd be scarred, and there would be some kind of tragedy. He could play the flashback. So I went with Harold, or was he Kumar? It was Harold, wasn't it?
It's Harold.
Harold.
Okay.
That's Harold.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am going to get out the time scepter, go back in time to a bygone era, to a guy that is pretty well known by all. I casted for my Shredder, Bruce Lee.
Nice.
Damn.
I thought about him as my Splinter.
You're going to have Jackie Chan versus
Yeah.
Bruce Lee.
Hong Kong '97.
That would
you
be-
know, you know.
That would
Yes,
be
sir.
fantastic.
Brad Pitt could kick his ass.
Next up, this is one that I've wanted to cast for over 20 years. Who do you have as your Casey Jones, Mike?
Again, I feel like this is just mindless casting. It's so obvious. Ryan Reynolds.
Oh! That's not obvious to me, but I like that. I like that.
Yeah, I like that as well.
I like that. Billy, who do you have as your Casey Jones?
All the way back from 1970s. Every Which Way But Loose star, Clint Eastwood.
That's fantastic.
Can we write a scene where he yells at a chair just to do it?
And
I
want him to go to that job interview with the mask on.
Yes.
He'll have the voice.
He'll have the voice, exactly. That's
perfect.
That's why I picked him.
Jimmy, who did you cast as your Casey Jones?
In my version of this, Casey Jones never removes his mask, so he could be random actor man. It doesn't matter. But his voice, Chris Pratt, just because I want everyone listening to this to groan out loud.
And he needs to do an accent.
Yes, let him do an accent.
Yeah. I picked somebody that I've always wanted to see as Casey Jones. Keanu Reeves, but from the 90s, like the era.
Point Break.
I have always, every time I've read a Turtle comic, that's the voice I've always imagined. Kind of, I just feel like he would kill it.
Whoa, Leo.
Next up, Krang. Jimmy, who did you pick for Krang?
No one can do Krang but Pat Fraley from the 87 cartoon.
I also picked Pat Fraley.
Perfect.
I did not, although I do 100% agree with you all. I just went with somebody who I thought would nail having an awesome voice, not so much an awesome Krang impression. And I went with Tim Curry.
I approve of that.
Yeah.
I was waiting
way better than Brad Garrett, I might add.
I was waiting for you to say me,
I watched that one earlier.
We'll get there. We will get there.
I should have picked you.
You should have. I was waiting for somebody to say
I'll cast Billy as Krang.
You do a pretty bang-up voice, but like I said, I didn't want an impression in my movie.
True. Oh, yes.
But who would be the voice of your Leatherhead, Mike?
Oh, yeah. Kind of keeping more so with the Guy Ritchie leftovers and whatnot, and keeping in like the British gangster kind of feeling.
I really like the British aspect of that Leatherhead.
Alan Rickman.
Okay. I would watch the shit out.
And again, this is just voice.
Oh, yes.
We're not turning Alan Rickman into an alligator.
I always would wonder what like a suit version of Leatherhead would look like.
And I want him to, if we're going this far with it, I would want him to look more like the 2012 cartoon kind of leather, where he's almost more Killer Croc than Leatherhead.
Yeah.
Because I do want it to be a little more serious. So, like, sorry, but the Crocodile Dundee hat's just going to kind of kill the vibe.
Oh, they took that away from like pretty much all the versions of them after that. Jimmy, who do you have as Leatherhead?
I like this one because I could see them doing it. I'm actually see them doing this. I'm going to pick you, Boy Hopper. I'm going to go with David Harbour doing the voice of Leatherhead.
Okay. I like that one a lot.
Very nice.
Billy, who do you have as your Leatherhead?
All right, here goes my Leatherhead. 1970s character who's in Jaws, Mr. Robert Shaw.
Oh,
nice. Okay.
That's a good one. For my Leatherhead, I am going to take Ron Perlman.
Nice.
I just feel like he could do the gruff thing very well. Next up, we have Baxter Stockman. I'm going to start with me because y'all know who I already put. Giancarlo Esposito.
Oh, nice.
I think he was, nice. And we'll talk about it later. I think he had a huge missed opportunity in the new movie, but he just looks, and when I read the comic, he sounds like Baxter Stockman. Mike, who do you have as your Baxter Stockman?
I'm probably going to butcher his last name, but Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a great one. That's a great one.
I think he's a phenomenal actor. Everything I've seen him in, so I have full faith for him to be pretty much any character on this list, even the females. He'd probably kill that too.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I figured he'd be good for Baxter.
Jimmy, who you have for Baxter Stockman?
I've never said the name out loud, but I love this actor, and you all probably love him too. I went with Jimon Hunsu.
Okay, yeah.
Bobby
Yes.
Was just in Shazam 2.
Yes.
Who are you?
Who?
I'm the I'm Star-Lord. Who?
Oh, okay.
Constantine. Or whatever that...
Amistad? Wasn't that also him?
Probably.
I think it was, yeah.
That movie's too classic for us.
I believe so, yes.
Well, I think that was like his first big movie, so that's why my brain has always attached that face to that name.
Billy, who did you pick for Baxter Stockman?
From the 1990s, a little film called Spawn, Keith David.
Oh! Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm jealous of that pick, actually.
Yeah,
that's a really good pick.
So next we're going to do a twofer. I want your Bebop and your Rocksteady, and we're going to start with Billy.
All right. Jimmy, you're going to enjoy this one. My Bebop and Rocksteady, all the way from the 1970s.
He's like Casey Kasem over here.
He's just going back to the 70s, rounding everybody up, taking them back.
This one's going back to the 1970s.
A little bit of a comic duo, Tim Conway and Harvey Korman.
I am okay with that. Okay with that.
That's good.
Mike, who is your Bebop and Rocksteady?
So I went with complete opposite direction. I do not want them to be bumbling fools of mine. This is a little bit left over from the Guy Ritchie version of my movie. But for Bebop, I went with Richard Armitage, who did voice work on the Castlevania Netflix anime. He was the one that did Trevor's voice. He's also Thorin in the Hobbit movies. And then for Rocksteady, I went with Graham McTavish, who was also in Castlevania and The Hobbit, but he did Dracula's voice in Castlevania. And they have great voices, and I'd like to see a version of Bebop and Rocksteady where they're as feared as giant mutants should be. So I think if they had those kind of voices coming out of them, it would be a little easier to believe them as threats.
Okay. Jimmy, who do you have as your Bebop and Rocksteady?
I didn't have any big ones for this, so I decided just to go with Rogan and Cena from Mutant Mayhem because they were in it, but they didn't make much of an impact, but I think it's good casting. So let's bring them back and give them more to do.
I like that. My Bebop and Rocksteady also includes a former wrestler. My Rocksteady, I'll start with Rocksteady because Bebop doesn't make sense without the context, I feel like. My Rocksteady will be The Rock, Dwayne Johnson.
The Rocksteady.
And The Rocksteady, which I didn't think of that till right now. And now I hate this.
Dwayne The Rocksteady Johnson.
Now I hate this choice. But Bebop, I said originally I had Stallone, but I was like, I want somebody that can work off The Rock really good. So I picked Kevin Hart. Because I feel like he could be, he could do kind of the silliness, but also still be serious at the same time. So yeah, Kevin Hart is my Bebop. The Rock, I hate that now that The Rocksteady.
Dwayne The Rocksteady Johnson.
Dwayne The Rocksteady Johnson is who I casted as Rocksteady. Next up, Karai. I have a feeling a lot of us are going to pick the same person.
I doubt it.
I'll start with Billy then. Who is your Karai?
Angela Mao.
She's not from the 1970s.
She is from the 1970s.
No,
she was in Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee.
Oh, okay, touche.
Yes.
Mike, who is your Karai?
I went with Lucy Liu. That's my Karai.
That's who I picked.
Yeah.
And I picked her from
Kill Bill.
Oh,
I'm
thinking Charlie's Angels, Lucy Liu. So we were almost.
It's not that far. It was only like 3 years between those two, I think.
Jimmy, who did you pick as your Karai?
Really, the Karai part should be like. They should pluck an unknown actress from an international film and be like, and introducing blah blah blah.
Well, I
as
actually
Karai.
thought about doing that.
That's what they should do. But I had to pick somebody, so I picked. I think the actress' name is Gemma Chan. She was actually in the Eternals.
Oh, she's great,
and I think she'd be good. But I do think it should be a Discovery, an ingenue that plays the part.
Interesting.
All right. Next and finally, the Rat King. Billy, who do you have as the Rat King?
Can I go last on this one this time around? Is that okay?
Okay. Jimmy, who do you have as the Rat King?
This is my favorite one because if anyone's listening to this who can make this happen, he would be great. I've never said his name out loud, but I love him. He was just in Oppenheimer. David Dastmalchian.
Who is he in Oppenheimer?
He's the polka dot man. He's polka dot guy in the Suicide Squad.
Okay.
He's creepy guy in all movies now.
He's in like a bunch of DC movies.
Yeah, and he was in the Dark Knight. He was in the Dark Knight. Yeah, I just think
Dark Knight polka dot
he has
man.
a great face. He lives in a sewer. I think he'd be a great Rat King.
Okay, I like that. Mike, who do you have as your Rat King?
We made it this far down the list of my Guillermo del Toro movie, and I haven't said his name yet.
Is it Doug Jones?
It's interesting you say that because it was either going to be Doug Jones or Ron Perlman, and I went with Ron Perlman because of the voice.
Okay.
Because I think his voice would be more. And I'm thinking more.
You can cast
Doug Jones as the body
and just have him like lip sync.
I mean,
have him be Robert Downey Jr. in that Elton John video, man.
I mean, I wouldn't 100% hate that because then I'd be able to get them both in there. But my choice was Ron Perlman again, mostly because I see him like in the shadows talking from afar, and that voice coming out of the shadows is a lot more striking than Doug Jones, who I do love, by the way.
My Rat King is from the 1990s, White Man Can't Jump, Woody Harrelson.
Ooh. I love that that's the movie you went with for reference for this character, too.
not
Natural Born Killers.
Natural Born Killers. Right. White Man Can't Jump, Woody Harrelson. Now, Billy, who is your Rat King? This will be the final of the casting.
My Rat King was from 1990s, a little movie called Drop Dead Fred, Rick Mayall.
It's another good one.
Okay. So, did you say you had a name for your movie, Jay?
I don't have a name, but I know that I would have designs by Stan Winston and Rick Baker.
Oh,
nice.
Good choices. Good choices.
Very good.
And I know that the synopsis of my movie would be a blood sport-esque movie. Hence Newt Arnold.
Right.
Where
he knows what he's good at, Arnold.
Starring the Turtles and other mutants, where Shredder and Krang are culprits behind the tournament.
Okay, I would watch that.
Can we call it Tournament Fighters? And it'd be the movie based on the
game. We can call it Tournament Fighters.
That sounds like a great video game.
Introducing Leatherhead, the evil Cajun Gator.
Leatherhead, these are your targets, the friends of the Ninja Turtles. Yusaki Yojimbo, the Samurai Rabbit. Casey Jones, the Sports Warrior. And Metalhead, the robotic turtle vending machine. Destroy them!
Whoa! Better watch the old blood pressure, Shredhead!
All right, thank you all. That was fantastic. All of y'all were great. Thank you once again for joining us for yet another installment of Turtlecast, where 4 middle-aged Mutant Ninja Turtle fans come together to wax poetic about our favorite heroes in a half-shell. This is the third of 6 episodes that I mentioned earlier, covering the nearly 40-year history of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I will be making these guys watch the Christmas special and possibly an adult-oriented movie for our big finale episode, but today it's just the theatrical releases.
Oh, don't make us watch porn.
We are going to dive into the making of these movies, not the porn movie. We're going to look at the cast of the films, and then each of us are going to give our thoughts on each film. We're going to talk about what we liked. We're going to talk about what we didn't like. But first, we have to go to where it all began back in 1990. March 30th of 1990, to be precise. Mm-hmm. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It came out, as I said, March 30th, 1990, directed by Steve Barron. The budget was $13.5 million. That seems like such little money in today's world. They grossed $202 million. Guys, do you remember seeing the first Turtle movie? And where were you? When was it? I'm going to start with the oldest of the bunch. Jimmy, did you see it in theaters? Do you remember seeing it? Give me the story.
I saw it at Green Tree 10.
Oh, that is a mall in Indiana for those who don't know.
Yes, in case you don't know. To keep you up on the local ways of the thing. I mean, I saw it. I don't remember if I saw it the weekend it came out. I might have seen it twice. I don't know. Back in the day, it was kind of hard to talk your parents to take you back again for another showing of the film. I think me and my friend Mark saw it. Hey, Mark, you're not listening to this, but
hey, Mark.
Hope everything's well. And I loved it. Spoilers, it's my favorite of any turtle thing. So it means a lot to me. And eventually we'll talk about the moments that are the best.
Billy, do you remember seeing it for the first time?
I do remember seeing it.
Did you see it in theaters?
I saw it in theaters, yes.
How old were you then?
90. I would have been 9 years old.
Okay. Who did you go with? Did you go with your parents?
Had it been parents, I mean, there wouldn't have been nobody else to take me unless there had been a babysitter. But I don't recall a babysitter taking me to see Turtles because she would have been like 17. I probably would have been crushing on her. So I know it wasn't a babysitter. I would say
hard luck.
I'd say it was probably a parents.
Did they go with you?
Oh yes.
Okay, mine didn't.
Really?
They just dropped me off.
They just dropped you off.
I was a little older, so. Yeah.
They're like, just go fend for yourself.
They're not going to go watch.
They're like, I don't want to watch that turtle.
You see my dad watching the Turtle movie with me?
I would love to see your dad watch the Turtle movie with you.
He took me to see the Smurfs and the Magic Flute when I was like 3 or 4. It's the first movie I ever saw. Sorry, Brandon, that's off topic.
No.
Go ahead and talk about Turtles.
Talk about.
I don't recall where. I don't recall where exactly I saw it at which theater.
That's a shame.
It is.
It's a shame that we don't know that.
Yeah, I don't recall that. I'm sorry.
So I saw this in either theaters or the drive-in. I don't remember. I know I saw it in theater. I saw it before it came out on VHS. I remember when it came out on VHS, it was a big deal that I get that VHS.
Because the VHS was green, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yes. I've got a copy of it somewhere in storage.
Yes.
So I'm a little bit younger. In March of 1990, I was 4 at this time. My first movie I saw in theaters was the previous year, 1989, which was Little Mermaid. That was my first movie I saw in theaters. So this had to be one of probably my first 5 or 10 movies I ever saw in theaters, if not the drive-in. I don't remember which one it was, but yeah, I saw it with my parents one thing that my dad told me years later, I remember saying was, "Hey, I actually went to that see Turtles with you, and it didn't suck." And I was happy about that because all kids' movies sucked. You made me watch back then. So
Good old Richard.
He's a trooper. Mike, now I know you're a little bit younger. You didn't see it in theaters, did you? Because you had to be two.
I would have been 2, and my parents aren't dicks, so they didn't take a 2-year-old to the movie theater.
That's good.
Even at a kid's movie, that's still a dick movie, by the way.
I agree. Very much so.
Because the other kids can't enjoy it while you're... Anyway.
No.
While you're sucking on a teat.
Well, do you remember seeing the movie?
First time I saw
a teat.
I'm glad you said teat. You could have said anything else.
There may have been a point, I guess, where I could have been sucking on a teat and watching. I don't think so, though.
Sorry.
But yeah, first time I saw it would have definitely would have definitely been the VHS tape. Would have been the first way that I ever saw the first one.
All right, we're going to go over the cast really quick, and then we're going to talk about the cast in turn. We have Judith Hoag as April O'Neil. By the way, if I'm just saying any of these names wrong, feel free to correct me, because if anybody listens to Almost Got 'Em, I am horrible with names. Speaking of which, we have Elias Codius. Is that it? We think it's Elias Codius as Casey Jones. Raphael's voice is Josh Pye.
Josh Pace,
and I believe he also did the suit as well. I couldn't find anything about the suit. Leonardo's voice was Brian Tucci.
Revenge of the Nerds.
The suit was David Foreman. Leonardo, I just said that. Donatello, the voice was Corey Feldman. The suit was Leif Tilden. Michelangelo's voice was Robbie Rist. The suit was Michelin Sisti.
Michelan Sisti, I think.
Michelan.
Isn't it weird his name is Michelin?
Yeah.
Michelangelo. That's strange.
Yes, that's cool. That's cool. Splinter's voice is the immortal Kevin Clash, a.k.a. Elmo. He's played by a puppet. But I love that puppet.
The best puppet ever.
The head thug is Sam Rockwell, which I had no freaking clue about. Shredder's voice is David McCarran, but the guy in the suit is James Saito. And also, Skeet Ulrich and Scott Wolf are uncredited Foot Clan members. Guys, what do we think of this cast?
I think it's phenomenal.
I think it's great. Definitely nothing bad to say about it. One interesting thing that I didn't hear you mention. So, in the scene where we first meet Casey Jones, with him and Raphael, one of the thugs that is trying to rough up April at the time is actually the same actor that played a young Tommy in Goodfellas.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
So, fun fact. That's my one for this movie.
Who do you think is the best casting in this particular movie?
Either Judith Hoag or Elias Codius.
I'd definitely go April.
Jimmy?
Let me think about that.
The voice for Splinter.
Kevin Clash.
I'd say that Splinter is
total MVP. I think just all the voices of the Turtles that's why I picked them.
Are fantastic.
They're perfect to me. Yeah. Like they're not.
They don't have to pick one.
And some of them are known people, but they're not too well known. They're not like big celebrities, so you're just
Corey
like,
Feldman.
I mean, we knew that voice, but it was like
Feldmeister.
He wasn't doing Corey Feldman. He was just being Donatello, really. Correct. So it's just like those four. They're just perfect voices for those characters.
So these are not fun facts. These are separate. Sorry. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the 1990 movie because it is kind of it's the original, and spoiler, it's a lot of people are going to find it the best. Not everyone. Like everyone has different favorites, but I have a feeling most of this panel is going to say this is their favorite when we do the lightning round a little bit later. But I want to talk a little bit about kind of the making of the movie. The script is based on the comics mainly this time around, not the cartoon. There's some cartoon stuff in there, like, say, Their Love for Pizza, the colored bandana as April as a reporter, and Mikey as a party dude. That's all from the cartoons, but it mainly takes stuff from the comics, like the origins, the rooftop battle, when Raphael gets his butt handed to him. It's Leonardo in the comics, but it's basically the exact same scene. You have the farmhouse in Northampton. That's from issue 11 of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original Mirage books. The battle with Splinter, the battle with Shredder is the Return to New York story. So we have a lot of stuff from the comics in this movie, which I I didn't realize until I read the comics a couple months ago, and I was like, that's really freaking cool. Now, this is something that Jimmy will probably know a little bit more about. The turtle costumes were created by Jim Henson's Creature Shop in London. Henson said they were the most advanced creations that he ever worked on. Henson was not a fan of the violence of the film.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, that's the thing he always talks about. And I think like his son had to talk him into it. He's like, this is something we should really do. And he's like, oh, I didn't like the violence, but and of course the second movie is dedicated to the memory of Henson. So you can't undersell these turtles and how like they're believable. I think it still holds up. I think the suit work still holds up.
It really does. Yeah.
And the fact that they could do like the back handsprings and whatnot in those suits is mind-boggling.
Oh, that is crazy.
Oh, yeah. That is,
I couldn't do that in my 20s.
Of course, you have someone playing the turtle just when they're acting, but then you have someone else who does like the stunt work. So you have like two different turtles, sometimes more than different turtles.
Yeah, it's a lot of teamwork, really.
Yes. Oh, yeah, because they have to do someone's
one
off.
Can't work as well without the other.
And someone's off the screen doing the puppet thing, so the mouth has to work with the suit. And of course the voice is coming through, put in later. So yeah, it's a pain. It's a pain, and they had very little budget to pull this off. And God damn it, they pulled it off, man.
And it still looks so good.
It looks fantastic.
I think the lighting has a lot to do with that. I've noticed that watching the later ones, that the first one's the darkest and it also looks the best.
Yes.
So I think that has a lot to do with it. The lighting in that movie is just chef's kiss.
Because once again, they're kind of going towards the comics. The comics were, very dark, black and white, and whatnot. And the cartoons were full of color by the time you got to season 2.
It didn't feel like the cartoon, and I love that about it. I'm like, this is kind of, I don't say adult, but like, it's low budget, and Raphael says damn. Yeah. So I mean, that was a big thing.
That's
but
the first time I ever got in trouble for cussing. Yeah.
and Danny's father said, "God damn it."
Yeah, it just felt shadowy. And you just loved
it.
Scary like an '80s movie.
It felt like it was done by Laird and Eastman.
It did.
Yeah.
It
didn't feel like it was done by Michael Reeves, which I love Michael Reeves, but it just didn't feel like it was a Saturday morning type of deal. I didn't expect to see Crane coming out with the big like Marshmallow Man costume or whatever. Most big studios like Disney, like Fox, even Paramount, who currently own them, they all turned the film down for distribution because they feared it would bomb, kind of like Masters of the Universe. Masters of the Universe was a huge bomb at the time. New Line Cinemas was the studios that end up acquiring the rights, and I bet you that they're happy that it did because it became the highest grossing independent film up until 1999 when Blair Witch was released.
New Line does it again and again. Before that, it was Nightmare on Elm Street. It was New Line.
New Line was the house that Freddie built, and then it was the house that Turtles kept going.
Right. And then Lord of the Rings paid for the gold.
Yeah, there's the trilogy.
So when we go through each movie, I'm going to read the synopsis from IMDb. A lot of these are kind of short and kind of fun to just kind of read out loud. So this kind of gives our listeners a little bit of an idea if they haven't seen it lately. This is what happens. So the synopsis, the IMDb synopsis for the first 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie says, 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles emerge from the shadows to protect New York City from a gang of criminal ninjas. Yeah, I mean, that kind of sums it up.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And we're going to go ahead and get into some fun facts. This one I really like. Robin Williams helped Judith Hoke get ready for her role since he was a huge fan of the comics. I think he even let her borrow some of the comics.
Oh, that's awesome.
I kind of wonder if he owned the first issue. That's what I've got to wonder.
He probably did.
Because I'm sure he owned issue 2, because literally I could go to Comic Book World and buy issue 2. They have it there. Right. It's not cheap, but they have it there. Right. But issue 1, very, very hard to find.
I'm sure he probably did, because, Williams has been around in, film since the 70s. So, and if he was a fan of the Ninja Turtles, comics at that time, I'm really certain he probably had issue 1.
Yeah, he was working on the movie that Judith did before Turtles was a movie with Robin Williams.
And he was a known nerd, so it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, his daughter's name is Zelda, and it is named after the video game.
And she does a voice on Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another fun fact: Shredder's hideout was filmed at an abandoned cement factory that was also used in Super Mario Brothers. Dino Hatton was that scene. Me, Billy, and Jimmy did a video reviewing that on YouTube.
It has the same look, kind of.
It really does.
Yeah. And they also, another thing that was filmed there, this is something Mike really knows well, Top Dollar's nightclub from The Crow.
Oh, shit, that's cool.
So, yeah, a lot of like iconic like spots were filmed there. Here's one thing I thought was interesting. One of the early ideas, this was just an idea pitched. It was vetoed pretty immediately, but an early idea for the film had it being having a not Robert, that's my middle name, a Roger Rabbit feel, where actors would interact with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon characters instead. Do you think that would have worked?
No, I do not.
If we never saw the actual 1990s one first to kind of mess up our perspective, if we had no preconceived notions of what a turtle movie should look like, it might. I don't think it'll be the movie we wanted it to be. But there's a part of me that has like morbid curiosity to see that now.
Jimmy,
I don't want to spend money on it, but
Jimmy, I'm very interested to hear your thoughts because you're a big Roger Rabbit fan.
Well, I'm sure that Roger Rabbit was still a big hit. So
this was a couple years later.
Yeah, they were like, how do we do this turtle movie? And that's the way that they're like, but obviously that's not the way this movie needs to have a very physicality, for the way it's physical, and it has to be live action. You have to do it the way they did it.
Also, most of this movie was filmed in North Carolina. I know it looks like New York, but I think they did a couple shots from New York, but it was mostly in North Carolina.
The opening montage kind of stuff.
Man, it's weird seeing those Twin Towers.
Yeah.
You see a lot of that in the first and second movie. This is the last film that Jim Henson worked on. He died less than 2 months later of strep throat. So remember, guys, if you have strep throat, go to the doctor.
Oh, yeah.
Because that is one of the most saddest losses the world has ever had.
Right.
I remember the day my dad picked me up from school, and he told me.
Really?
He's like, one of the greatest died today, Jimmy. I was like, who? And he's like, Jim Henson. And I think I might have cried in the car.
Probably.
Because the special of where the Muppets went to.
So that's what I remember watching the special.
That just happened. And I was like, well, how could he be dead? He just did Kermit. And I didn't understand. I didn't understand. But of course, he knew.
He was Kermit to us.
He was, and
still is. Oh, yes.
And at that point, the Muppets were kind of going to be parlayed into Disney. It was going to be a bigger thing, but just awful timing. I mean, there's never a right time to lose someone like Jim.
No.
Another fun fact: Judith Hoag was not asked to return for any future movies due to being, and I'm going to use quotation marks here because this is a movie industry and a lot of people are full of shit, so we don't know if this is true or not, that she was quote-unquote difficult to work with. She apparently was not a fan of the 6-day shooting schedule. Neither would I.
I mean, that does sound rough.
Yeah.
She did not like the violence in the film. She vetoed the cartoon jumpsuit that was supposed to be in there.
Good call.
I'm not against that.
Yeah.
The being against the violence thing, like, did you not read the script?
Well, maybe. I mean, she read the comics even, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
And she was also, and I get this as well, she was mad that a lot of her scenes were cut, which she's in the movie.
Right.
She's in the movie a lot, especially compared to Paige Turco.
Oh, yeah, quite a bit, yeah.
I always heard that there was test numbers, little kids, little boys were said in the test screenings that they found her kind of abrasive. And that had something to do with the recasting.
I could see that.
Because this is a confession. When I was growing up, you would think I was a huge fan of Judith Hoag in this movie, and I was not. And I kind of wasn't. And now she's like a steward for the brand. She's been. They made 2 NECA figures. She's always involved. She's a sweetheart, and I love her as April now. But I don't know. I don't know what I was fucking thinking, to be honest. Maybe I was still mad about the Leah Thompson thing. But
you were an 11-year-old kid.
I was just like, I don't know. I think because she yells at, maybe because she yells at Casey Jones, and I was like, she seems mean like my mom. But she's amazing. She's fucking amazing.
Is that what turns you down about most movies when somebody yells at another person?
Because they remind me of my mom?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It shuns you for the whole thing.
She's great.
Ninja trauma, teenage.
Corey Feldman claims he was only paid $1,500 for voice work on this movie.
Probably
$1,500.
Yeah, he was hurting for it too.
Oh yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I think he would be.
We'll talk about that a little later.
We're talking late 80s, early 90s. Yeah.
Let's say still at this point he hadn't gone to rehab yet.
Yeah, not yet.
There's a reason he was not in the sequel.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I was mainly just mentioning that he was raking in, or his parents probably were.
His parents were. Yeah, right after Goonies and all that.
One of the most fascinating things I think about this movie is the fact that Steve Barron was fired as director near the end of production because the producers thought the movie was a little too dark. So the editor, who is Sally Menke, she's worked with Tarantino on a lot of films.
Pulp
This
Fiction?
is actually her feature film debut.
Amazing.
And she composed the rest of the film after Barron got fired. So I think that's really cool.
That is cool.
Back to Splinter being a puppet. It took 3 puppeteers to operate Splinter.
It did. Such a perfect puppet.
It's
amazing.
It's the best puppet that ever
far.
puppeted. And finally, I've got to talk about the first pitch that was given for this movie. It's just ridiculous, but I would kill to see this. The first pitch was that the Turtles would all be voiced by comedians. Those comedians being, and it doesn't say who would play who. And I want you guys to figure out who would play who.
It's the year 1992. Oh my god.
Oh, and it was, but remember, it was casted in probably 88.
Yeah. Fair. All right, give them to me.
Your comedians that they wanted to do is Gallagher. Who would Gallagher be?
Donatello, I would say.
I guess.
Maybe?
Sam Kinison.
There's Raphael.
That's Raphael.
There's Raphael. Way too angry to be anyone else.
Bobcat Goldwing.
There's Mikey, I guess.
Michelangelo?
Yep.
And
Oh my god!
Actually, I feel like this could be good Leonardo or Donatello. Billy Crystal.
Leonardo.
Leo.
Yeah.
He's just bland enough to be Leo.
He really is, yeah.
Also,
you look marvelous.
Also, in an early draft of the script, Baxter Stockman was in it, but they cut that pretty early on. So, we're going to talk about what we think about this movie, but we're going to start with only positive things, then we'll get to the negative. So, guys, what do you like? I'll start with Mike. What do you like about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990?
I mean, there's not much that I don't like, even though I know you said we're supposed to talk about that next. But everything from, we've talked enough about the suits. Like, I'm actually very big into special effects. I got really into it about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So going back and watching stuff that I always thought looked good before I knew what looking good as special effects means, and this movie 100% holds up. I mean, those things still look beautiful. And again, I think a lot of that has to do with the lighting, because you can hide a lot in the lighting and in the camera work and whatnot, and they do that masterfully in this movie. I mean, we could spend the entire episode just talking about how amazing those suits look. I can't get over it. But
that's literally my first thing I have is they look amazing.
The score is also fantastic.
Okay, yeah,
I don't think that gets enough credit.
John Dupree, who did all 3 of these movies.
Nice.
Oh, I think soundtrack's good on all 3.
Yes.
Even the third one.
And he nailed it with the theme too, without it being just the theme from the OG series, just sort of tooled with, like, he actually has like a really good theme.
It's recognizable. I loved it then.
And it feels like Ninja Turtles too.
Yeah.
Billy, what did you like about the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
I love this movie. But by far, main thing I liked, I'm with Mike, the costumes, straight up.
Yeah.
Costumes were fantastic. I liked that it went from not being cartoonesque to, like, the first, like, serious time we get to see the Turtles in serious mode outside of the comics.
Jimmy, what did you like about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990?
The moment where they were going down the sewer, panning down the sewer, and the credits are starting, and you hear them talking, "We're awesome, bros. Dudes and dudettes, Major League Bucking is back in town." And they pauses, there's the title, and Leonardo jumps out, and you're like, "Holy fuck! Holy fuck!" Like, it's not happening. It's not a cartoon, but it was like in the theater. You're like, "Stop everything! Stop!" Because they looked amazing,
they were believable,
amazing, and you just
in 1990.
And the commercials at the time didn't. I think they hit a lot of the Turtle stuff at first.
A whole lot of it, yeah.
I remember they were on Entertainment Tonight. They had the video, the Partners in Crime video, and that was the first time I really saw them. I don't know if that was before I saw the movie or not, but they looked amazing. There's a scene in this movie lit by a candle where, like, Splinter, Shredder I'm saying it. Raphael, I'm nervous to talk about it. Raphael comes home after watching Critters. And Splinter's like, "Come here." He's like, "Get this, wait till morning." He's like, "You will listen now." And, like, the camera is like it's like a foot away from a man in a turtle costume and a puppet, and it's a rat puppet, and it's amazing. You can see, like, the wetness of their eyes. And I know, like, that Steve Barron was just like, they're like, "We can't do this. We can't put a camera that goes, yes, we're doing it." And it's the only one of these movies, even the later things, that do this, where it's like you can just reach out and touch that, and you can see that, like, it's not sweat, but whatever they put on Raphael's head. It's so real and it's so believable, and it's just amazing. It's again, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it, but I love that scene. It's my favorite scene in the entire movie.
It truly is magical. Things that I love.
And relatable.
It's very relatable, yeah. And it still is in 2023.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoyed it when I watched it back a few weeks ago. Once again, Turtles look amazing. That's one of my favorite things, obviously. I love the voice acting. The action was a lot of fun. You mentioned earlier that they're doing it in the costumes.
It's just mind-blowing to watch.
Blows my mind, man. It's so good. It's so good. The movie's fun. It's funny. The Splinter puppet is immaculate. Shredder is scary. He's not like the cartoon where he's like a whittling dolt.
Right. He walks in that room and he hits Splinter with his claw fist. And you're like, oh my god! And he's chained to a wall!
Yeah. And that's Shredder. That is freaking Shredder. And I love that they took aspects from the book in there as well. So, I know we love it, but what are things that you are not big on when it comes to the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie? We'll start with Billy.
Not enough action. I'll say that. I mean, there was some action, but it starts out with a lot of action.
Well, it's still like a PG movie.
Yeah,
so I get it.
It starts out with a lot of action, and then it gets into a lot of dialogue and
there's a lot of exposition. Yes,
quite a bit of exposition.
Okay.
Not as much as another Turtle movie, which we'll talk about at a later time.
Oh yeah.
But
I'm dreading that. But I can see that.
I had to choose something bad, so that's about this movie. I had to choose that.
Jimmy, what's a negative for you when it comes to the original 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie?
April and Casey have some great Han and Leia back and forth bickerings, which work for me. But at the end when they kiss, I'm just not kind of feeling it. It's a nice moment for the movie. But what does April see in this guy? I don't get, because I've said I'm not a fan of this coupling in any of these things. I don't see how I see April O'Neil being into Casey Jones. Yeah. I just don't see it. And I like these actors. It works for this because I grew up with it. This is like, ask me what I don't like about my mom, which is actually easier than I imagined before I said it.
Hi, Karen.
I just like when they're kissing at the end, she's like, why don't you kiss me? I got a report to do. I'm like, no. It's a nice moment as the music swells, but I'm like, where is this going to go? Yeah. And we'll talk about later. Where does it go when we get to part 3? We'll talk about it because I don't know.
So I'm gonna do the next one here just because I'm gonna piggyback off that. My main reason for not liking it is, and I actually like when Casey and April are together because, like I said, they did that in the books back in the day. But I don't feel like that romance is earned in this movie.
No,
there is no flirting. I didn't think there was much flirting other than when they're like, I don't know, patching each other up or whatever.
Some of the stuff
he doesn't prove himself in the third act. Like there should be something. Well, what he pulls the thing and squashes Shredder's face? Is that what he did to earn that kiss? Doesn't seem like it's earned to me.
Like if this was done today, I'd be like, okay, we save this for 2 or 3 for them to get together.
Yeah, good point.
That's my main gripe. The other gripe is it's very nitpicky, but there's a part in it that makes me groan, and that's when we see little baby turtles. First word being pizza, even though they've never ate pizza or heard the word pizza before. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Pizza! Shut up.
It feels ironic the way they do it. Like, it feels like it's like, yeah, you knew this was going to happen, so I'll let it go. But, like, and also those little puppets are adorable.
They're adorable,
so
but
it's fine. It's fine.
And I'm fine with them saying radical or cowabunga or whatever, but, like, pizza, come on. Mike, what did you not like about the original Turtle movie?
Some of the dialogue's a little hokey.
Okay.
But that is...
I can see that.
To be expected with Ninja Turtles.
And the old Mirage, like the very early Mirage books could be that way. They got better, but they could be that way.
Like the turtle wax joke, and there's like a couple of lines that are
I'm
just
going to be honest with you, that kind of shit I love. I don't know why. I guess me being older now and being a dad, the dad jokes that are in all of these movies just really do it for me. So, not even mad at Turtle Wax.
If you've listened to Almost Got 'Em, Jimmy has a very specific way of grading each movie. Would you like to explain that to our fine listeners?
Yeah, well, I watched the movie, and I come up with a score. I don't want to go with just 5 stars or 5 whatever. I want to go with something that's specific to the movie.
What are we grading this one based on?
We're going with out of 5 Jose Canseco bats, but not cricket, because you got to know what a crumpet is to understand cricket.
I'm not writing that down.
I'm not saying that every time.
So,
well, at least say 5 Jose Canseco bats.
That's
you can abbreviate.
That's fine.
Billy, how many Jose Canseco bats are you going to give this movie out of 5?
I'm giving it a 5.
All right, sounds good. Mike, how many are you giving it?
5.
Jimmy?
I'll get a 5, and I don't think it's just nostalgia goggles. I think it's if this came out now, I think it would be the same thing. I think people would love it for the low budgetness, for the realness of it. I think it's a 5, and it's not just because I love my mother and I grew up with my mother. It's because I think it's that good.
I'm going to be the one contrarian. I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5, just because I absolutely hate the April Casey ending.
It's fair,
but
it is.
But still 4.5. It's
right.
It's like a Melcher 4 3/4.
I can't imagine you'll be giving anything a 5 at this point now, though.
Oh, I won't.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
As high as it gets.
On today's show, we have something really exciting. It's questions and answers with the movie star turtle.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, fellas. So, has being in the movies changed you guys?
Well, we changed our expressions. We're bendable, and our legs have gotten longer.
So Hollywood has changed you.
Nah, we still like to kick butt.
So what's next for you guys? More movies?
How about lunch? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
So we're going from the original classic to the sequel that came out less than a year later. We're talking Teenage Mutant.
Was it really that quick?
Yes.
And it shows.
We're talking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze. It's released March 22nd, 1991. It came out the year before. It came out March 30th of 1990. It was directed by Michael Pressman. The budget was $25 million. It grossed only $78.5 million. Do you remember when you saw Secret of the Ooze, Jimmy?
Okay. Yeah, I saw Turtles 2 in the theater. I don't remember a whole lot. I remember more of the VHS experience. I remember looking in like a Woolworths ad and seeing the VHS was coming out, because back then you had no idea. Like, the movie comes out in the theater and then the VHS comes out like 4 years later. It wasn't that long, but it just seems like a long time. So I was like, oh, it's coming out on VHS. We have to buy it for $39.99 or whatever a VHS was at that time. So yeah, I remember the VHS part of it. I really don't remember watching it in a theater, although I know I did. And when they jump up in the air at the beginning, I popped. That's the best part of the movie to me.
Turtle Mark.
Yes.
Billy, do you remember seeing Secret of the Ooze for the first time?
I remember seeing it for the first time. I want to say it was in a theater, because I was around 11 or so. Again, I don't recall if it was actually theater or if I saw it on HBO.
I saw it at the theater and the drive-in.
Drive-in. It may have been drive-in. There's a good chance drive-in.
I saw this was one of the first movies I saw multiple times at theaters and stuff like that. I loved this movie as a kid. Things have changed. Mike, do you remember seeing Secret of the Ooze for the first time?
I do, actually. We saw it at the drive-in. It was, if I'm not mistaken, the Kenwood drive-in.
Mm-hmm. That's where I saw it.
That's right. That's where I would have saw
Kenwood Drive-In.
That's where I would have saw
What was it? Southside Drive-In?
South Park.
South Park.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
They're still around. They're still around.
Okay, I was saying, I didn't know if they were closed or not, because we usually go there, because you know where my parents live. Literally 5 minutes from the South Park Drive-In, where they would be at. I always remember looking at the big screen when we would be like on the way home from baseball.
Driving by Gene Snyder, you see it. That was always awesome.
From Gene Snyder.
About that. That was awesome.
And you could turn the station
of life back then.
You could turn the station to that station and hear the audio passing by for like a minute, and then it's gone. Amazing.
Awesome. But yeah, the first time I saw it was definitely at Kenwood Drive-In. I believe they were doing their one movie first, then another movie second, then we just replay the first movie instead of a third movie.
Yes.
But yeah, and I loved it, and I don't love it as much as I used to anymore, but I do think I have a little bit of a different opinion on this movie than the rest of y'all, so this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
All right, the cast for Secret of the Ooze includes Paige Turco taking over for Judith Hogue as April O'Neil. Professor Perry is played by David Warner.
Waxwork.
Yes.
We got Robbie Rist and what? How did you pronounce it?
Brian Tochi is Leonardo, right?
Yeah, but we're on Mikey.
We're on Mikey.
Oh, Michael Insisti.
Robbie Rist and Michael Insisti are Michelangelo. Donatello is Leif Tilden and Adam Carl. Raphael is what is that here? Ken Traum. He went by Ken Scott in that movie, but also Laurie Faso. Leonardo is played by Mark Casso and Brian Tochi. Splinter is once again voiced by Kevin Clash. Keno is Ernie Reyes Jr., who we were talking about earlier. Shredder is voiced by David McLaren, but was actually played physically by Francois Chow. Super Shredder is Big Daddy Cold Diesel, Kevin Nash.
That's right.
Razor is played by Mark Ginther. Toka is played by Kurt Bryant, and both of them are voiced by the legendary Frank Welker. Jimmy, what are your memories about Frank Welker in general? Because we talked about him a little bit on the Batman podcast.
I mean, you can go to Frank and go, I want 3 dogs in a fight, and he'll do them all at once. But he'll also say, what kind of dog? What breed and what size? And he'll do 3 dogs at once. He's amazing, and he's probably, what was it? His IMDb is the biggest of any other human being.
1,090, I believe.
Yes.
I remember that from our other podcast.
Just real Ghostbusters, Scooby-Doo.
And he was a werewolf on that horrible episode.
Yes, he was. Any kind of growling or anything, just Frank is MVP.
So what do we think of this cast? We have a new April O'Neil. What do we think of Paige Turco in the part?
I think if you could treat it self-contained, we don't compare it to the previous movie, I like this April. I like her just fine. Nothing else. I like the actress. Her role in the movie is a little bit different than the first movie, but
much less
right. But as far as the actual performance and the lady who did, I think she did a great job. And that was kind of because the second one was one that I watched a lot more growing up, just because we didn't have the first one on VHS, and we ended up with the second one. That was my April growing up. So I think that's another reason that I have that attachment to her, and I'm not so hard on her the way a lot of people on the internet seem to be anymore. But
which I did not know that.
Oh
I started doing
God!
research.
Everybody hates anyone that isn't great. Everyone seems to hate anyone that isn't Judith Hogue or their OG series.
Yeah.
Anything other than that, fans seem to just crap all over, and it's so frustrating.
I feel like they're really mad she's not the current April, but we won't get into that.
I'm probably going to mention it a little bit,
but what did you guys think of Paige Turco as April?
I was fine with Paige Turco as April. I mean, original, of course, Judith Hogue. I would have liked it to stay Judith Hogue because, whenever people do sequels or anything like that, or, a part 2, I like to see the same characters.
No one likes a recap.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Never. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of recaps.
Everyone likes consistency. Correct. It's not just movies. Everyone just likes consistency in life. Yes. Change is not fun.
Right.
But it is inevitable. Jimmy, what did you think of Paige Turco as April O'Neil?
Well, she has no plot urgency or anything, and she just kind of I think Brandon said this the other day, texting, she just disappears eventually.
She's just not really in it all that much.
Towards the third act, she's pretty much
just kind of like, well, we don't have Judith Hogue to kind of be the anchor anymore. Let's just...
She's definitely not the protagonist of this, as Judith Hogue was in the first. She's got some nice mom energy. I like that part where she's like, I like to do a little chucking every now and then. I like that. That's cute.
And that goes with the thing that you like, Jimmy, where April is obviously older than the turtle.
Yeah, she's perfect as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. I prefer that too. That kind of bothers me about some of the cartoons too.
Same here.
The 2012 one.
She gets a lot more to do in the next one, and I think she's serviced a little bit more. She's not really April O'Neil in that movie, but like she gets more to do.
Yeah, she has a plot.
I don't really recognize her as April. She's fine. She's not the problem. She's not the problem. So
we love you, Paige.
Yes,
it's not
Paige,
you.
You're great. And
It's
Paige,
not you. It's us.
NECA, this is for NECA. You also need to make a Paige Turco figure.
You should.
Because you've made a couple of Judith. But
From 2 and 3.
You made 2 David Warners. There's 2 David Warners, one in a suit and one in the thing. You kind of have to do her,
They
too.
made Judith Hogue as the Bride of Frankenstein.
Yes,
before
exactly.
they made
So
her.
maybe she doesn't. Maybe she didn't sign off. Maybe she didn't sign off on it. Maybe not. I don't know. But we need to have that. Make that happen. Yes. Because some people grew up with her as their April, so they give them what they want.
And I want to remind everybody that Jimmy had an encounter with Super Shredder back in 2009 in Chicago at a convention where he got in Kevin Nash's way.
I don't remember any of it.
Jimmy was just kind of doing his I don't know where I'm at type thing, and he crashes into Kevin Nash, and Kevin Nash.
Oh, he actually bumped into him.
Yeah, I don't remember. And Kevin Nash looks down like, this motherfucker. And Jimmy just kind of turns around and looks up oh, Super Shredder.
Was it in an elevator or was it in one of those rooms where people talk?
It was just out and about. I think it was just it wasn't in a panel room or something like that. It was, I believe, maybe even the day we were leaving. It was because it was near the end of the trip. But yeah, it was just this big, tall Big Daddy Cool, Diesel.
The Russian from Punisher.
Exactly. Me and Mike are huge wrestling fans, and we're going to talk a lot of wrestling in this episode.
So
there's more wrestlers to come.
So I'm wondering, is Kevin Clash on Cameo, Brandon?
I haven't looked.
Because we need to settle this.
I know.
We need to settle this bad blood.
I know Judith Hogue and Paige Turco are.
He doesn't remember you.
You never know.
I doubt that.
But Judith Hogue is on Cameo?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, she is. Cool. All the April O'Neils, even Renee Jacobs is on there, too.
Oh, nice.
So, the IMDb synopsis for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze goes a little like this. The Turtles and Shredder battle once again, this time for the last canister of the ooze that created the Turtles, with which Shredder wants to unleash an army of new mutants. That's a long sentence, but I copied it word for word and comma for comma for comma. Before we talk fun facts, I guess you kind of already answered this. Who is your favorite April of the two? I'm guessing Judith Hogue for everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So let's do some fun facts. This movie was fast-tracked, as I said earlier. It came out less than a year. Not even a full 365 days.
Yeah, it's insane.
Which my little kid brain was probably like, oh, already? Yes. Because I probably didn't notice that movies usually don't come out for like 3 years or so. But it was fast-tracked because they thought the franchise was going to burn out. Because they thought it was more of a fad, so they didn't want it to burn out so quickly, and they wanted to strike while the iron was hot. Now, Eastman and Laird didn't want Shredder to be the villain of the sequel. They actually had a lot of thoughts on this movie, mostly negative. They did not originally. Bebop and Rocksteady were supposed to be in this movie, but they hate Bebop and Rocksteady. At least they did at the time. I think they turned around on them. Yeah. Now, I wonder what they would have looked like in the movie as Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah, that could have been a lot of fun. I mean, I assume they would none else take Toka and Razor's place as the...
Well, that Toka and Razor took their place.
Yeah, that's kind of what I
I feel like they would be harder characters to pull off in that.
I feel like
in the suit work.
I feel like it would be interesting.
I think Bebop would have been really hard to pull off.
And I think if Jim Henson was still around, maybe could have. I don't know. I feel like it would have been interesting.
Toka and Razor always felt kind of kit bashed to me. Yeah. Like, I love the designs now, but it's like, you waited till Friday, and this was due on Monday kind of thing. I mean, I love them now. They're adorable big babies, but, like, they're just not...
Mommy!
Yeah, they're just not.
Yeah.
They're not. But they're all welcome. They're welcome to play in the pool with us.
Yeah.
You know, I love them.
And they actually showed up in the cartoons briefly, right?
Yep, they sure did.
Right near the end, right?
Are they babies in that? I can't remember.
No, they're very smart. Toka, that's a very nice thing you did there. Oh, thank you very much, Razor. I don't know why.
I think fun.
Yeah, they did a whole thing.
And then in the 2012 cartoon, Toka is like the size of a planet. Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking forward to that.
It's a very interesting twist.
Razor is a very spooky character in that.
Yeah, he's basically a skeleton.
Yeah.
Corey Feldman was not asked to return in this one because he had just went to rehab.
Yes.
The violence in this movie, of course, was toned down big time.
Oh,
the Turtles' weapons were barely used. I think Donatello used his bow maybe like once.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Leo throws his swords in the ceiling and then grabs and kicks people. But like,
But no turtle made physical contact with Shredder the entire time, which blows my mind. I didn't realize that. Most of the fighting was basically kind of like choreographed dancing, and they put in a lot of grunts like, oh, ah, oh. Make it sound like that they're fighting, not that they're in that adult-oriented film that we're totally going to watch before the podcast ends.
Episode 5.
Episode 6.
Episode 6.
Then we could be like canceled for real.
6.5. Oh.
Now, the movie that Eastman and Laird did want was a movie that involved Baxter Stockman. They wanted Baxter Stockman, the Mousers, and possibly even Rat King, which I think could have been interesting back in 1991. But if you only have 360 days to put this movie out, man, but they hadn't even filmed it yet. So they filmed it, edited it, and then put it out. That's all coming to my mind now. I didn't even think about that right now.
The post-production stuff getting done that fast is bananas.
Man, that's just too much. Jim Henson's Creature Shop returned, but Brian Henson was not involved in this one. The Henson family was really good friends with Steve Barron. And Steve Barron wasn't brought back because of all the stuff that happened in the last movie. But the Henson shop returned, and the Turtles still look amazing, in my opinion. You see them a lot better because of the lighting.
Well, and that's
the problem.
That goes back to my previous point where, like, I think that's one of the reasons they look so good in the first one. Because the second one, they look more or less the same, except you just see a lot more.
They're
how
lit
bright
so differently.
lit the movie is, and
it's more like the cartoon lighting in a way.
Yeah.
And then we went full cartoon because
We did.
obviously, I mean, they're taking out people with sausages and stuff like that.
yeah.
It's silly time.
Cold cut combat, I believe, like she says.
Ninja Cowboy!
I don't care. I love it.
There were some really bad puns in this one.
And
Yes,
Ralph
there is.
Nader jokes too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the weirdest thing is those references to things that are like so 1990s.
Oh,
and
yeah.
just very strange.
Yeah.
Isn't there? Or no, that's the first one where he does the Humphrey Bogart voice.
Yeah,
that's in that.
Before he
But
jumps
there's
in
the
sewer.
cartoons
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
multiple times.
Yep.
He does Stallone in that, I
Yeah.
think. Cagney.
Yeah.
Also, the original script of this had Professor Perry.
John Wayne,
Also, originally, the script had Professor Perry being revealed at the end in a cliffhanger that he is actually an Utrom. But he was not supposed to be Krang, because Krang was not in the books.
Right.
The idea was cut essentially because they didn't want kids to be let down to think that it's going to be Krang.
Is this maybe why it's TGRI in the movies instead of TCRI? So they don't have to. So they have their little way of saying like, oh no, that's why there was no Krang in the building because it wasn't a TCRI building. It was a TGRI
I hadn't
building.
thought about that,
Right.
but that's a very good possibility.
Yeah.
Actually. And I have to ask this very important question before we start talking about what we like and what we don't like. What do we think of Ninja Rap by Vanilla Ice?
It is exactly what it needs to be. It's dumb, stupid fun. If anybody heard even 1 second of that track and thought anything other than this is about to be dumb, stupid Vanilla Ice rap music, I don't. What could anybody even possibly expect after hearing like 15 seconds of that song?
It's Rob Van Winkle's second most popular song ever.
I mean, at 11 years old, I was like, "Go Ninja Go!"
Oh, I was
And
obsessed
then-
with it as a kid.
After about like doing it for like a week or whatnot, I was done with it.
Mhm.
I was like, "This is a little too much." Yeah, I'm gonna go on with something else.
Jimmy, did you like it?
I did love it. I remember my friend David and I were watching, it was on VHS, and his brother walked through the room, and he was like, "What are you watching?"
That's a fair question.
And Vanilla Ice is up
walking into
there.
that with no context at all.
He's like, "Is this the one with Vanilla?" Oh my, there he is. And he stood there just laughing. And we didn't understand why he was laughing. But he was older and knew that it was, he knew.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that this was really sad. Not sad, but just cheesy as hell.
Yeah.
And we didn't know it yet. But soon we would. But I still love that part of the movie.
I love it too.
And I love that Ice still, like, he performs it still, and like it's in the new movie, right?
Yeah,
it's
For a hot second.
for a hot second, yeah, and that's great.
I think it's a little weird because they were talking about they didn't want the original like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme in there because they didn't want it to date the movie. But I'm like, you put Ninja Rap in there from 1991.
That was one of the things I liked the 2012 series did. Mikey would occasionally like hum the original
And,
series,
yeah,
to
yeah,
a point,
yeah.
but he didn't have to actually play the song.
Right.
I just thought it was just weird that they were like, oh, we can't use that song because it's too old. But they put Ninja Rap.
It is a little bit weird, but I almost feel like the
It just feels pretentious. to me.
well, like the campiness of Ninja. Like, all right, so bring it back to wrestling for you. Ninja Rap is the same thing as Real American. It might not be a good song, but goddamn it, when it starts, you're going to get excited.
There's a reason that
It's dripping with nostalgia.
when a bunch of us used to go karaoke, that at the end of the night, our karaoke god Groucho would play Real American.
He would.
There you go.
That's how I know what that song is. I'm like, that's the Groucho song.
What's that, Robert Derringer or something like that?
Rick Derringer.
Rick Derringer.
Rick Derringer, yeah.
So, what did we like about Secret of the Ooze? What did we like about it, Mike?
My stance on this movie is, and I know at least one of you's probably heard me say this before about anything, but Halloween 6.
Okay.
I like this movie. I understand why others do not like this movie, and I will not defend it. But I don't know, the movie, and I think it goes back to a lot of it is childhood nostalgia.
They were about to say, this
But
is very nostalgic.
But also, back to a point I mentioned, I think, on the first episode of our podcast, where, like, to me, Ninja Turtles, at the end of the day, needs to be fun. And if nothing else, that movie is fun.
Oh.
It might not be the best script, and yeah, April might not be as involved as she was in the first one. Holy shit, that thing goes for a while.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
But yeah, I still had a lot of fun with the movie, even though I wholeheartedly admit, yes, it's trash. Yes, it's a bad movie, but it doesn't stop me from enjoying it.
Billy, what do you like about Secret of the Ooze?
I like that it was the next Turtle movie. I was excited to see another Turtle movie, especially when fell in love with the first one. And 1990, when we just talked about a moment ago. And I was excited to to see a new one. It's like, oh, New Mutants, this would be fun, which and also is one of my downsides to this movie as well.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Jimmy, what did you like about the movie?
I'm having trouble. I liked the Vanilla Ice part. When I was a kid, I loved the whole scene where they break the wall down. I'd watch. Here's what I would do. I don't know most of the movie. I know the first part where they come jumping up and there's the logo, and I think they used the logo from the cartoon.
They do
at the beginning, which is weird. They did that for the first movie too, but they don't use it for any of the advertising, which is strange. And I love that first fight with the cold cuts and all that stuff because
I don't like that one.
Because the credits come up and then someone hits the credit and it flies off.
Yeah,
and they're interactive. Yeah. And I like doing stuff like that. So I love that part of the movie. And then I don't know what happens because it doesn't. It's just there's just a lot of stuff that happens. It doesn't matter. And then at the end, they try to feed donuts to Token Razor, and they knock down a wall. And then there's that whole musical scene, and I like that scene. And then occasionally it cuts, and we go back to Keno and Splinter talking, and I don't know why that's. I don't know why.
So angry.
I don't know why that's there. That comes out of nowhere.
Do we like Keno in this movie?
I like Keno.
I mean, obviously we like our.
I like the actor.
I like the actor. I'm the same way. I like the actor.
Today was
but
the
not
30th
the
anniversary of Surf Ninjas, by the way.
Nice.
I like the actor, but not the character.
Yeah, because I was at that age where I was like, "What is this?
Yeah.
What's going on?"
Is that so kids could identify with somebody?
I think that's what that was, and I was starting to get hip to that kind of stuff.
Maybe so you didn't have to have Raph to do some of the shit that Keno was doing. You kind of
Okay.
split up.
Yeah,
There's a little division of labor.
And they have a good dynamic.
I get that.
Yeah.
They do have a nice
They
dynamic.
do have a good dynamic, yes.
That's my good thing to say about the movie. They have a nice dynamic. Keno and Raphael do.
I found Professor Perry delightful.
Oh yeah. And David
I
Warner's
thought
great.
he was just
Yeah,
fun.
fantastic.
He showed up to work. That's all I got to say about him. The turtles still looked great. They still sounded great. I loved Super Shredder at the time. It's stupid, dumb, fun. I mean, look at him over there. It's dumb.
The design
Amazing.
is
But it's fun. It's fun.
Jason X
And
is what that design is.
And Kevin Nash
Yes,
is
it
Jason
is.
X.
Right.
It just makes me happy. Which, by the way, this was before he was even Diesel.
Oh yeah.
I didn't realize.
Oh, yeah,
He was
yeah.
like Vinny Vegas
This
or
was
Oz.
I would say this would have been like Oz, Vinny Vegas.
Man, that blows my mind. I
Yeah.
did not realize that.
Because he had blonde hair on set, I think.
Ooh,
So that
really?
would have been Oz, I think.
I like Shredder's new look throughout the film as well. He's very bladey. And the third act is fun. Yeah, it's there's a lot of weird stuff in it, but it's just fun. Go Ninja, go. Love it. What do we not love about Secret of the Ooze? We're going to start again with Mike.
One thing, and I don't know if this is even accurate, this is just how my eyes perceive it. I feel like the Kuru Kabuto, so Shredder's helmet, is novelty size large in this movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
I feel like
it's
it's
extra, but I like
large.
extra. I like extra.
Yeah. It's like a
that would-
buzzsaw.
Right. That would be
It
one
feels
thing.
comic booky though to me. So.
That's true, but when the rest of it's not proportional to him in the way that I feel like it needs, or at least that it was in the first one, and it looked a lot better in the first one. Also, that whole scene in the TCRI building where
TG, all right.
yeah, TGRI, sorry. Where Donnie cracks his knuckles and does all his awesome hacking, which is literally just pressing the down key over and over again to go through a list.
Yeah. I always love 90s movies that hack and they're like, I'm in.
Yeah.
It looks
Take a drink every
so
time you see that.
basic. It's so and literally everything in that scene. For as much as I do still like the movie, that scene for some reason it's trash. The set design's trash. The fighting is trash. Everything in that scene is garbage.
It's a really little area.
Yeah.
I think, and they're all crammed in there, and I think that it's just you don't get. They're throwing the canister around like it's a football, and you're in a closet. There's just not enough room for what's happening.
And then the there's some stuff in that movie where it's like they don't understand the tone of certain turtles.
Yeah.
And that scene is a perfect example because the surfing on the chair and then just whoa and wipes out they're ninjas, and that was the smart one. Why would he do that? That makes no sense for him to do that in that scene.
Billy, what did you not like about Secret of the Ooze?
Quite a bit. I agree with a lot of what both of you all have said thus far. I also, like I said earlier on, and what I liked that there was new mutants and whatnot. But that's one thing I didn't like about this movie was there was new mutants.
You didn't get ones from the OG series,
Correct.
You got Token
Yeah,
Razor.
I got brand new mutants,
And they're babies.
Yeah, babies. And
babies.
Babies.
Useless
They were dumber than babies. They were stupid.
They're stupid babies.
They do have other positive quality.
What did you expect? I'll come out quoting Macbeth. He was really good. David Warner.
He's great.
Yeah.
I always thought he looked like Kurt Loder growing up for some reason. I don't know why.
I can see that.
He lifts the material.
You watched
That's
one
why you
of-
bring in a guy like that.
That actually is a really
You watched
good
one on MTV, didn't you, Mike?
I really did.
Kurt Loder's the other one I always knew of. Him and Sway.
Yeah.
Jimmy, was there anything else you didn't like about Secret of the Ooze?
There's a whole plot element of them looking for a place to live. Why is that in the movie? Why is that in the movie? This is a turtle movie, and I'm 11. Like,
one of my big things is, why are we looking for a place to live for so damn long?
and it's a cool place, but like,
It looks nice, but
Just-
do that in 1 minute.
yeah, I like them living
Not
in
a whole act.
Them living with April is fun at the beginning, but like there's
They're
just
so
like a whole,
messy.
and then they fight, and then they do like the breakup thing where like Raphael runs off or whatever.
He does that, apparently.
Yeah, it's just like that part of the movie. I'm just like, it loses me.
The things that I hate, I think the first 50 minutes are so dull. A lot of that is them looking for a place to live. Around I think it's the 48-minute mark when like Toka and Razor come in. At that point, I'm just like, okay, now I can kind of enjoy this movie because it starts to get a little silly, starts to get a little fun. April's role is lessened. I wish there was more April O'Neil. She's just kind of there in this movie. I didn't like that they had weapons the whole time and didn't use them.
Yeah, it's a big.
I don't need to see Leonardo like impale a guy, but at
I would
least
like to.
have him cut. At least have him cut some things down to like land on the foot soldiers' heads or something.
I mean, Splinter does use weapons as much as any of the turtles do in this movie.
It's
now
not
that
good.
I think about it,
It's a little too kiddie for my liking, and the jokes are just bad. Once again, Ralph frickin' Nader.
I love how bad they are. Though.
It's so bad, but it's not like I don't even think it's good bad. I just
Also, Kino fat shames that girl at the beginning of the
Oh
movie.
my God!
I forgot about that.
And it's cringe. It's real cringe. We don't approve of any of that.
That's why he didn't come back for the third one. But before we get to that interesting movie, let's give a grade. Jimmy, what is our grading criteria for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze?
I didn't say this earlier, so I'm glad I put it in the this part. We are going with out of 5. Bart Simpson glasses full of mutagen ooze for the monsters to eat.
That's the most 90s scene ever.
It blew my mind. It blew my mind.
Too meta. So, how many Bart Simpson glasses out of 5 are you giving this one, Mike?
I was really hoping the rating system was going to be dandelions. But, I will give it a 2.5 because again, I acknowledge that it's not a good movie, but that doesn't stop me from enjoying myself when I watch it.
Billy,
I'm gonna give it a 3 because it seemed like the movie was rushed.
Okay.
And for being as rushed as it was, they did a decent job.
That is a fair point.
For a movie that was rushed.
That is a fair argument there. Jimmy, how many Bart Simpson glasses that say Cowabunga did you give it?
I'm going to give it... I was going to give it 2, but Billy made a good point. I'm going to give it 2.5 because for a year, this is a mess, and it's rushed, and it's nowhere near as good as the original. But, I liked it as a kid.
Yeah.
Enough.
Oh, I loved it as a kid.
So I want to give it 2.5. And when I read the review in the paper, because I would always read the reviews in the paper, they gave it a 2.5. So I'm gonna stick with that reviewer from 1991 and give it a 2.5 stars or 2.5 Bart Simpson glasses.
Yeah, Bart Simpson.
I gave it a 2 out of 5, but you guys do make a good argument there, in my opinion.
Turtles, get ready! It's an attack! A snack attack! A crunchy snack attack! It's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle piece of crunch-a-bunga! Snack attack! A snack attack, Jack! Going to pieces over crunchy little pieces! A snack attack! Piece of crunch-a-bunga snacks! Sounds like a crunchy snack attack, dude! I take on any ninja who takes my crunchy food! Piece of crunch-a-bunga! Want some? Got some! Awesome! Crunch-a-bungas!
So, you guys know what's next.
Yeah, the movie.
It's inevitable. We have to do it. And remember, we have to say good things eventually. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. It came out March 19th, 1993. Directed by one Stuart Gillard. Or Gillard. It's something like
Gillard?
that.
Maybe it's Gillard.
It's spelled like Dillard, but with a G.
Bastard either way for making
I agree.
Stewart's budget was $21 million. He made a profit off it. It grossed $42 million. Man, do you guys remember seeing this movie? Did you see it in theaters? Did you see it on VHS? Did you see it on Showtime?
I did not see this movie for the first time until adulthood.
Oh, really?
So there were no like nostalgia.
Why
novels.
didn't you see it as a kid?
I just didn't.
Okay.
Just one of those like we didn't go to the movies a whole lot growing up. So like if my parents couldn't justify buying it on VHS, then I probably wasn't going to see it.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy this one.
Yeah, no, and it worked out. And I'm willing to bet if I wanted to, like I probably had a cousin that had it, and I probably could have watched it then. But I just. By the time this came out, I was probably starting to get into Power Rangers and whatnot, I'd be willing to bet. Mm-hmm. So that probably dwindled my excitement for that movie to begin with.
Yeah. But. Billy, did you remember seeing this?
I remember seeing this movie, I want to say at the drive-in, and I was not happy with the results. Not happy with the results. I was excited to see, again, a new Turtle movie.
Right.
You know, they were really, pushing out on commercials and whatnot about, new movie, not showing much. I was like, oh, they're being secretive with the Turtles again. Yeah, this would be cool. Let's see what they're going to do this time.
You figured you would have learned after the last one, man.
You would think. I thought there might be more, Go Ninja Go in this.
Jimmy, do you remember seeing this for the first time?
I do remember seeing it. This got really bad reviews when it came out because I said I would always read the paper. And I was at that age where I was like, no, I don't think. I was almost in high school when this came out. I was in 8th grade. And I remember I was on the playground and there was a little kid there. At Simon, where I went with Billy, and we were talking about turtles. I was just talking to this 5-year-old about turtles, and I was like, "Have you seen that new movie?" He's like, "Yeah, it was awesome." And I was like, "It was," because like he was really excited about it.
Well, that was probably his first turtle movie.
Yeah, and I was like, "Well, if he thinks it's cool, yeah." So I actually have the ticket. This is the ticket.
Oh, wow!
From
nice.
I saw Turtles 3 Wednesday, March 31st. Was it 93?
Yeah, it was
93.
About 2 weeks after.
At Green Tree, that's where I saw all the movies at that time. I saw it in Green Tree. So yes, I still have my ticket, and I remember seeing it. And that kid was
a bastard like Stuart Gillard.
Are we supposed to say what we thought about the movie now? Or
not yet.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Okay.
How much was that?
We won't spend a lot of time on a lot of these.
In 1993, a matinee was $3.25.
Mother.
At a Cinemark theater, no less.
And now I'm depressed. I'm depressed. I remember seeing this because it was one of the few movies that I saw at Oxmoor Mall when they had a theater upstairs.
I remember
was
that.
a long time ago.
I saw the Muppets Take Manhattan there.
In like 94. I saw that and 50 Goes West there.
I love 50 Goes West.
Me too. Me too. But yeah, I saw it in theaters and I liked it at the time, but I smartened up years later. The cast for this movie: Paige Turco returns as April, but also Elias Codius returns as Casey Jones. Walker is played by Stuart Wilson. Lord Noringa is played by Sam Norinaga. Yeah. Mitsu is played by Vivian Wu. Splinter is voiced by James Murray. That's not Elmo. Mikey is Robbie Riss, David Fraser. Leonardo is Brian Toshi and Mark Casso. Raphael is Tim Kellner and Matt Hill. Donatello, Corey Feldman's back from rehab, and Jim Raposa.
And needs a job.
So the synopsis for this movie from IMDb states, and I quote, "When their friend April O'Neil discovers an ancient scepter with magical powers, the Turtles must cowabunga their way to the 17th century Japan to rescue her from the evil clutches of Lord
Norinaga.
Yeah.
Didn't know cowabunga was a verb.
It apparently is. Some fun facts. All Effects Company took over where Jim Henson Creature Shop left off.
You can really tell.
On the Turtle animatronic effects and Puppeteer Splinter. Jimmy, any idea why the Henson Company left?
Well, pretty much after Jim died, everything was kind of up in the air and in disarray because there was the whole thing with Disney that kind of petered out because they were going to do a whole Muppets wing of MGM Studios, and that didn't pan out. And eventually, Henson's company was sold to something a foreign company. So I don't know. I don't know what was going on. Maybe it was just too expensive. I mean, this movie was made for what, 10 cents? I mean, they probably just couldn't afford.
21 million.
They just couldn't afford the Henson Company to do it. Probably they're probably busy, and it was money. I'm guessing.
It shows. The concept of the movie is loosely based on issues 46 and 47 of the Mirage book. The story is called Masks, but it's written by Michael Dooney. But what's really cool about this I've never read these issues, but I have seen the covers and some art from it. Apparently, they fight a samurai dinosaur in this story in feudal Japan, which is way cooler than what we got.
You mean to tell me they based this off of a book that had a samurai dinosaur,
and
we didn't even get a...
No hint.
I take back what positive things I was getting ready to say.
It's amazing.
Stuart Gillard.
It's amazing that this was based on anything. That's what amazes me.
Other than a fever dream.
Yes, and based on it badly.
Yeah, if this movie had a samurai dinosaur in it, I may have given it a better rating.
Oh, 5 stars. 5, whatever Jimmy comes up with.
It would have been Tammy and the T-Rex level. It would have been terrible looking.
It would.
I would love to have seen what terrible.
Paul Walker and Denise Richards.
Yes, pre-hysteria, whatever with Austin O'Brien. What's the one where Whoopi Goldberg's a cop with a dinosaur?
We're going to talk about Whoopi Goldberg in a minute.
I can't think of it, but it's
something Rex.
Yeah. Oh, yes. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, it would have been wonderfully terrible.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah. I'd like to point out this is the second time we've mentioned Tammy and the T-Rex on this podcast. By the way,
true. That's
true.
Also, in the original comic, the timstress Renette was involved. She's mainly only in the comics, and she shows up in the 2012 animated series. So
that's neat.
I'm kind of sad we didn't get Renette.
She ends up being Mikey's little love interest because all 4 of them by the end get like their own little.
Yeah. I've actually seen like a meme with all 4 of them.
Yeah, I like the episode where they get all 4 of them finally. It's nice.
Also in this movie, as I said earlier, Casey Jones returns. But since violence isn't really allowed in this film as much as the first time around, he's only a chaperone to the time-lost travelers.
Fucking babysitter.
This also happens to be the last Turtle movie on VHS. Which, Jimmy, do you have the VHS of this anywhere?
No.
I have it somewhere.
I recorded this off HBO or something when it came out.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the positive things here. Just the positive things. What can we say that was actually good about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3? I'm going to start with Mike.
Thank you.
It's not so much a direct thing that I like in specifics, I guess, but I remember disliking this movie a lot more the last time I watched it. I rewatched it just last week to get ready for this episode, and I didn't full on hate the entire movie. There are other Turtle movies I feel that way about, which we will get to. I ended up actually, for as much as I was like super against it, I ended up actually kind of liking the little bit of a friendship Casey Jones has with the Lost Time Lords or whatever.
Okay. I agree.
By the end, when the old dude goes to... Song? Yeah, well, that, which I thought was awesome.
A Tarzan Boy, right?
Yeah. By Baltimore.
Yeah.
That on my phone for some reason.
Probably because of Jack Perry, I'm assuming.
Wrestling, yes.
But so...
Luke Perry said.
Right. But so, like, at the end, whenever they're going to go back to their time, and the one dude, like, kind of, like, hugs Casey and then walks off and then runs back in and hugs him again, and Casey...
That's good, yeah.
And Casey also has that look on his face, like, oh, I think he actually kind of loves me. Is this what...
love feels like?
Is this what, like, attachment feels like? Okay, well, get out of here,
remember when we kissed that one weird time?
See, and that's to go back to that point, like, that moment was more earned than the kiss at the end of the first movie.
Yeah.
And so it works
totally agree.
better.
That's a good point.
But as far as positive things, that's about all I can think of as far as specifics. I didn't hate the time period stuff as much as I remember hating it before. I actually thought some of it looked really good, like them in their masks when they're all like riding on the horses.
No. Yeah.
Basically, when you can't see how terrible the puppets and animatronics are in this movie, they look a lot better.
Jimmy, what do you like about this movie? Give me some positive here.
I agree with Mike. Tarzan Boy is a bop. It was then. It still is. I think what's fascinating about that this is where I'm turning into Jimmy. That actually was used in like a Listerine commercial. It was originally in a Listerine commercial where it's like Listerine was like swinging on vines like Tarzan.
I've seen that.
Like, because the song came out in the 80s, and then they brought it back for that commercial. Brought it back for the commercial, and then brought it back for Turtles 3, and it was a hit 3 times. So I think that's amazing.
And I think it's been a hit 4 times.
It's definitely had a bit more love over the past couple of years because of pro wrestling. Because like watching the audience react when that song would come on, he doesn't use it anymore, but like the whole crowd waving their arms and doing the
just-
whoa. It's easy to get swept up in that song. It's got a lot of energy.
I bought the soundtrack after that kid told me to watch the movie. I also bought the soundtrack, and it came with a sticker. I have it in there. I still have the soundtrack with the sticker.
Nice.
April enters this movie wearing a black leather jacket, short hair, sunglasses, and this hat.
Oh, that's
It's chef's kiss. Paige Turco looks great at the start of this movie. I like the Is it the Walker is the villain? He's the kind of like the British.
Yeah.
He just feels
He's
like
a colonizer. Let's call it.
Yeah, exactly. He just feels like the most off the shelf, but I think it's fun. I think he's funny, and I think the actor kind of makes something out of it when there's nothing there. I like the time travel element with the egg timer. I like that April keeps calling it an egg timer. And when I was a kid, I'd rent movies, and my mom would watch them. She wouldn't watch them, but she'd say, "Let me watch it," and we'd put it on, and she'd do other things. And all I remember her saying was like, "Yeah, that ending was really cute."
All right.
We need Karen on the podcast.
That's all I remember.
Brought up a lot.
Oh, that's it. She's a cheap character.
And actually, I think it is a very cute ending. Where Michelangelo doesn't want to leave the lady.
Yeah.
And then they go back. Actually, I like that. I think it's cute.
Billy, give me something positive about Teenage Ninja Turtles 3.
If this movie did not have the turtles in it, I would actually enjoy it more.
Okay.
That's fair.
That's fair. That's fair.
That kind of ties into a point I want to bring up whenever we talk about the bad stuff.
Yeah. If it didn't have the turtles in it, I would actually enjoy this movie much more.
Yeah, my positives are I love the costumes. Like when the turtles are in the feudal Japan, like the costumes. I like that. I like the Tarzan boy stuff. I like that Shredder's nowhere to be found in this. That they actually took a chance at something else.
Yeah, I mean, not even.
That's ballsy. You got to give them that.
Yeah.
And I think time travel is a good concept, and them going to Japan is a good concept on paper.
It is an easy concept to fuck up. A lot of people do time travel
but it's one of those just like, okay, that could have been really good.
Oh yeah.
Feels like an episode of the cartoon, like a one-off.
Yeah.
And that's what I felt like. I felt like also kind of a one-off of the comic as well. Yeah.
There's really no reason to bring Shredder up when he got crushed by a dock.
God.
And
I didn't bring that up. You should bring that up.
Yeah, none of us did actually.
We didn't. No.
Billy, I'm going to start with you on this one. What did you not like about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3?
I did not like the time traveling thing because it seemed like they were trying to do a Master of the Universe, and I was waiting for the World Door to show up.
Oh, because the egg timer is kind of like the cosmic key.
Just like the cosmic key. Exactly like the cosmic key.
I like that about it, though. They're both bad movies, but I like that about it, though.
I didn't like that about this, and again, I didn't like that the turtles were in this movie. Like I said, I was really excited to see my 4 Ninja Turtles that I'm used to watching movies of and have somewhat enjoyed in the past. And then this comes in and it's just nothing but majority of exposition.
Right.
The mass majority of this movie is exposition.
There's a lot of talking.
There's a whole lot of talking. And then don't get me wrong, turtles need love too, but with our characters that we're fans of and whatnot falling in love in this one and whatnot, it's just like
interspecies or rock.
I don't want to see this. This is not what I paid money to see.
Mush.
I did not pay $3.25.
Well, your parents did. Your parents paid it.
My parents did not pay $3.25 for me to watch this.
Mike, what did you not like about this movie?
All right, so go ahead and start dusting this off. One, the suits look like trash. The animatronics, specifically speaking, their faces, their mouths, have it's almost
There's
like
nightmare fuel in there,
like
guys.
And here's the thing: is it almost looks like they tried to add extra points of articulation in the face, so that their smile would go up a little bit more, and it looks awful. Yeah. Also, when they're talking, it is very flappy, like a puppet.
Yeah.
Their lips, you can see them like cave in a little bit as they come down. Like it's just enough to where it doesn't look like it has for the past 2 movies, and I think part of that goes to it being so brightly lit. If you need an example, just turn the movie on. The first minute will show you, I guess, everything you need to know about how terrible the rest of the movie can look. Because that opening dance
where they're dancing
number,
you don't like the dance number?
Dancing to ZZ Top.
Yeah.
It's a good ZZ Top song.
It's a great ZZ Top song,
but
why?
Why?
But why ZZ Top?
Right,
That's not Turtles at all.
Right.
Like Hammer or something.
No.
But more Rob Van Winkle.
But so my big problem with this movie, and it is a problem that I have with the second one, is that it doesn't seem like the movie that should have came after the one that preceded it. Yes. Which is the same thing you can say for Secret of the Ooze. It doesn't feel like the movie that should have came after the first one. Yeah. Like if you watch Secret of the Ooze, a story that would make a lot more sense for the third one, which I'm still surprised they haven't done this until they kind of do with Mutant Mayhem, spoilers. And the second one, they are seen by so many people in public. So, and I get that it was the 90s. Not everybody has a phone with a camera in their pocket at the time. I get it. But there are witnesses. There was 200 people at that concert. They didn't just get seen. They fucking performed with these people.
Yeah. They were in the paper. They were in the paper.
Right. Splinter was so mad at them over it. So, like, why is that not the story of the third one? Is them being accepted by the public finally, and then all the stuff that would backfire from that. It could have been their Rocky 3, you know? They get a little cocky because of getting accepted. Something like that. But no, we get this shoehorned in story that just didn't make sense in the, admittedly at that point, even kind of messy timeline.
Yeah.
And and then all the stuff that was almost kind of charming, for me at least, in the previous movies, like the crappy jokes and whatnot, don't hit nearly as well in this one. I wouldn't go so far as to say I hate this movie at this point. It is not Halloween 6, though. I don't like it enough to say that. But I definitely didn't hate watching it this time. I can still, whatever. It's still characters that I love, even if they look like they... My boy. Look what they did to my boy.
To your boy.
Donatello looks so terrible in that movie. And he's so bland. And it's kind of a problem. And a problem I have with Leonardo in that movie is I think the reason that most people don't like Leonardo is because he's bland as shit in the third one. He's bland as shit in the second one. And he's bland as shit in the first one. Like, he has nothing of his own to work with until, like, maybe the 2007 movie. Just speaking on films, anyway. And a lot of the characters just came off bland. Kind of like how Jimmy was talking about what's the villain's name again?
Walker.
Yeah, he's just bland. He's
like a Xena villain.
That is a perfect way to describe him, actually. But yeah, it just there's a lot about the movie that doesn't work, but it's not enough to make me say I hate it. So I guess I am eating a little bit of crow from the past on this one.
Jimmy, what did you not like about Turtles 3?
When someone uses the time travel thing, they switch clothes with the person. So, like, April is now wearing the clothes of some,
like the time travel
samurai,
wearing
and like now
jackets.
That guy is wearing April. So that's gross.
Yeah, that's weird.
And really weird. Like, I know that they needed to have April wear the clothes of the character, and they needed to go. That's a really weird thing, writer.
It does
that's
make for a really funny joke with Mikey, though.
It does with the clothes.
That's probably why they did it.
They do pay it off, but I can't help thinking, ew. Just ew.
That's true.
It's weird. Yeah. And what exactly? So April. So they need Casey to come and look after these four guys and Splinter.
Yeah.
Is there ever any dialogue that April? What's going on? Like, aren't they like? Is he worried about April? There's no line. Is there any lines about any of this? He's just there.
Like, it's assumed that that's his job.
We don't know if they're together. I guess not, because he's not like, "Where's my babe? What did you do with my babe?" Nothing like that. At the end, there is a shot where they're together, like laughing when he's like, just like Blue Elvis and Blue White. There's a shot of them kind of laughing together, which is weird. But like, oh, that's so bad.
That's weird.
Can we talk about Splinter in this movie? How it's clearly a torso.
It's just a puppet. It's just a guy down, and he's always
and not even a good puppet.
No, he can't even shut the door of the train station. There is continuity where it's the same place they found in the last one. Yeah, that's kind of nice.
His fur is so full, though.
It's so
for
bad.
That to be the same
it's really bad.
One from the first one.
Really bad.
It looks like the one that they have in the Coming Out of Their Shells tour has
and
that has a full body.
Yeah, he has like a Springsteen number in that, by the way.
And that was even
Skipping Stones.
That one wasn't even movie quality.
Oh, it's embarrassing.
That's not even
we
movie
might watch
quality.
that.
Oh, I'm definitely going to.
And things I don't like. It's really boring. The movie's really boring.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not even like I like to watch bad movies now a lot, especially since I've taken up the recreation that Mike likes to do.
Whoa! Why are we trying to throw me under the bus?
Yeah, I like to have candy imported from Colorado and watch bad movies, and this is not even fun to watch that way. Like, it's just boring.
Which I did, by the way.
No,
so that's
I'm sorry.
Probably one of the reasons I don't hate it like I used
to. It just really wasn't funny. It's a total waste of a returning Casey Jones, which should have been a lot of fun.
Well, why did they do that?
I honestly think it's just like, hey, guys.
Let's bring him back.
We have Paige from the second movie. Let's bring somebody back from the first movie to show that they're all connected, maybe?
Probably pretty easy payday to produce on their part, too. I doubt the guy had a lot going on if he wasn't in the second one.
Does anybody know why he wasn't in the second one?
Maybe he was hard to work with.
I don't think Elias Koteas, forgive me if that's however you pronounce this man's
Does
last
he do
name.
conventions? Maybe we go meet him and ask him. It's like social.
I don't know if he does. His social media seemed to be a little bit like removed from.
I'm guessing he didn't test well with moms because a lot of the changes they made for Ooze was like stuff that moms were like, "There's too much violence."
You'd think moms would like Casey Jones.
I don't like Judith Hogue, and I don't. Oh, that guy
bad boy.
has long hair.
Yeah.
I don't know if I care for my kids. It feels like moms made a lot of edits as far as these movies went along.
Did your mom make an edit?
My mom would have loved Elias Cody. My mom would have loved it. She never said like that guy was real fuckable in that movie, Jimmy. She never said that.
I think your mom would have loved Elias Cody.
Yes, she would have. She would have.
I also the Turtles didn't look nearly as good as the other times. Obviously,
too many spots.
I say the weird little spots.
The spot were they like H spots or something like that?
Liver spots on turtles.
The movie felt unimportant and filler, and there's just so many white people in feudal Japan. It was just distracting. I'm like, man, there's more white people than Japanese people in 1792 Japan. But okay, Jimmy. Give me the grading criteria for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, and let's get this out of the way as quick as we can.
We are going with out of 5 antique time-traveling egg timers gifted by April. Shwing!
Mike, how many swings of time thingies did you give this out of 5?
Well, I've got to make sure that it's not the lowest, because it's not my least favorite, so I'm going to... I give it a 2. Oh,
okay.
We talked earlier.
Oh, okay. Let's do
no, we talked earlier about what my least favorite
was. This is definitely my lowest.
Yeah, I'll give this 2 though.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, Billy.
Gotta have room to fall.
Wow.
Billy.
0.5?
0.5 is what I gave it out of 5.
Yeah, 0.5 is what I gave it.
0.5 from Billy and Brandon. Jimmy, finish us off on.
Oh, really?
All 3 of us?
I can't help thinking of that little
Better
kid.
movie than this one.
He's got 2 hands.
I can't help thinking of the little kid that told me he was like, "It was great." So I don't know. I can't give it. We've talked about this movie so much over the years, and it's given me a lot of joy to talk about how bad this movie is. It doesn't deserve 2, but I'm going to give it 2 just because it's always there. It's a bit of a punching bag. Everything's terrible, but I like that there's a terrible one. It's not quite fun bad.
It's not fun bad.
But there is something. There is something. It's fun to talk about it. Yeah. So I'm going to give it a 2. And I love that NECA just made those figures from the movie. I think that's amazing. They look amazing. So do the Pizza Hut ones that I have. They're amazing that they're doing that for fans. I even want them, and I just gave the movie 2 stars. But yeah. Hey everyone, it's Jimmy, and surprise, surprise, our conversation on the movies went long. So what we decided to do is, as you've just listened, this half of episode 3 is for the 90s movies. Next time, tune in to Turtlecast, and we will talk about the remaining films on into the 2000s and the new movie as well. So come back next week or whenever it drops and listen to our thoughts on the rest of the Turtle films. And for Mike and Brandon and the other guy on the podcast, cowabunga. See you next time.
Someone's lost their head over new Mini Mutant Turtle Top playsets. Leo's gone military. Watch out, Private Devo. Now you're flying. Raph's a real slugger with his Mini Mutant baseball playset. It's going, gone! Don's tearing up the court with his basketball playset. Power forward Leo will even the score. Cave Bebop's Dino playset's prehistoric. Way to rock!
Mini Mutant Turtle Top playsets from Playmates.
Heads are gonna roll.